All right, what is up, everybody? We are live. We've actually got the play-in games in the background this time. They're fired up and going live. We don't just have to watch the play-by-play, though. I guess we do have to watch that on the screen here. But for us, we've actually are able to tune in, and maybe unfortunately we've jinxed our Eastern Conference mistress team. I mean, shout out, make no mistake, we're obviously Spurs fans the whole time. Were we, making side eyes at the Charlotte Hornets this end of the regular season, second half, I guess, basically all of 2026, I guess whatever New Year's resolutions we had, were immediately thrown out the window. When we saw the Charlotte Hornets play a game, it is what it is. But unfortunately, this is not it. They are about to be down 30. It's a 29-point game. They're about to be down by more points than they have. Is it updated on the ESPN? It's not any better on the live feed background at this point. 58-29. It's 3 minutes left in the second quarter here. So I guess, stay tuned for the best, most dramatic second half of NBA play-in game history. Who's to say, I guess, but this is, I guess, do we say drama out of the play-in game? I know that, obviously playoff time, and these are all playoffs, it's all, the playoffs, I guess, do we have to look up the definition? But, it's just that process of elimination. It's that process of being eliminated from the season and from title contending. So, the teams that obviously don't make it, boom, right away, not making it in. Oh, wait a second. What is this? A logo documentary on Prime? Are they setting up for the logo change? Is it time, chat? The Kobe logo? Maybe. Who's to say? I mean, it's one of those things when it first gets introduced, it's such a radical, and rest in peace Kobe as well too. But it's like such a radical idea. Change the logo of the whole league. But I guess at the end of the day, who cares? And you know what? If they do, you know what that means for the old logo? It becomes iconic and retro in its own way. And then the new Kobe logo for a new generation of fans, and it gets to be the Kobe. Silhouette and modeled after their guy. Obviously everybody back in the day loved Jerry West like they love Kobe Bryant. I don't know if Jerry West was quite the Kobe. With all due respect to, the legend Jerry West. Obviously rest in peace Jerry West will too. But, I don't know, again, if it was quite to that. I mean, I could be wrong. And there is like a basketball there is a weight that he has in the basketball world, obviously, again, because he is just such an influential guy, being the player. Did he coach, like, actually, clipboard on the sideline, Larry Bird style, like a player, former player? But I don't know. But he did obviously, have such a crazy, successful executive run as well, too, powering those teams. And just such a great basketball mind, again, from all of the angles, like as a player, seeing things on the court, but then evaluating the talent as well too, and building the teams. Again, both things were literally proven. He could do them, pause at the highest level. But 65-31, chat. I guess IT, go back and cut out every time that we said that we like the Hornets. Do we have Hornets purple on? No, we don't. It's a different purple. I guess we're watching Randall Cunningham highlights. Kansas State. It's not Kansas State. I don't know. But shout maize and blue. We're not going to associate with different colors there. But I guess it is what it is. We'll have to see if there is any kind. I don't even know what you win the second half. Do they have 20 points maybe you just start saying, can you get to 20 points in a quarter? At this point, it's not even about outscoring Orlando. It's just about outscoring yourself. And Orlando is definitely a little heat checky, but that's at this point as well too. Like you have to give them the heat check for the performance they've built up. Bridges, Chad, it spins out. It's just, you blame it on the rims. Pause. That's why you're down 30. They've just all spun out. And Suggs the other way hits a three. I guess the case would be made if the Hornets do make the positive comeback in the second half, then maybe you could make the case. But Suggs, 12 points. Is that 12, 5, and 4? A little sneaky triple-double watch. But, they were talking about the Magic in the last couple of weeks, sort of getting a more complete look at what their team could be here in the playoffs. I don't know if it's, going to make a run necessarily, but maybe more competitive in the play-in than we thought. Oh, right away, Suggs just airballs a three the other way. it is what it is. I guess he can laugh it off when you're up 35. 35, chat. It is what it is. Do we have to start looking for play? It's a good thing that these box scores don't exist. Hey, yo. The Charlotte fans would be erasing this one anyways. But what were we saying about Jerry West? I guess, like, again, Kobe is arguably, in argument with LeBron and Steph. You just throw basically MJ in there if you're talking all time. Like we said before, you could argue that's the Mount Rushmore of influential basketball players. I guess, there probably was a time, right, when Jerry West retired. Again, I intend no disrespect. I'm not exactly certain if he was to the 100%, again, Kobe Bryant level of the just full scope of the impact that he had in terms of how people looked at his game and the things that they took from him, but then just, how people sort of went to him for basketball knowledge and basketball mentorship as well, too. Again, obviously legends all over the place provide that, again, West provided that in his own way as well, too. But, it seemed like Kobe was definitely the number one for that in the league at this point. Or, at that point that he was, around. Ayo, again, RIP. But, and I guess I was trying to figure out what happened there as Ian Eagle was getting excited. But is it Wendell Carter with the block? I guess we didn't exactly think about that with the trade, for Angel Reese going to Atlanta. But Atlanta is closer to Orlando. She could go to the games. Are they still together? I guess, we saw some news about, some sports couples separating. It's tough to see. But, for Angel Reese and Wendell Carter, I think, do we check the Instagram stories? I'm not sure. And maybe we don't, maybe we're not always thinking about, the Angel Reese boyfriend as well, too. Hey, yo, I guess IT cut that out. Shout out to Wendell Carter. He's balling out tonight. It is what it is. So maybe, he has to be, maybe he has to step his game up a little bit. Bam drops 83 when Asia's at the game. Is Angel Reese there? I don't know. But I guess, chat, Amazon Prime, they're having more technical difficulties. It's called not cutting to Angel Reese on the sideline if she's there. I guess shout out. I guess, we'll see what happens if they make the playoffs. But then it starts to get in conjunction with, I guess they're probably getting ready for, I imagine they're getting ready for the season, the entirety of the league, especially now that, the CBA has been worked out. The draft has taken place as well, too. Shout out to, UConn. Is it AZ Fudd? I don't know if I'm saying the first name right there exactly. But she did end up going first. And we were kind of like, time out real quick for the rest of the basketball news, because we do see here that, and I did this on ESPN earlier as well too, that the Hall of Fame basketball player Oscar Schmidt had passed away. And again, in some ways, the Basketball Hall of Fame, it's like, okay, does there need to be a little bit more of a specific lane, like where the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and it's just maybe as well too the NFL being such a dominant pro football sport as well too. Player or no CFL player or any arena football player. I guess, obviously Kurt Warner got there, and I guess they would end up going to the NFL as well too. And I guess Oscar Schmidt is the rare case. Like, I don't know who the NFL guy would be, or who the football guy would be per se, that had the great career in the CFL and never made the commit or made, some kind of European football league. Again, I guess we're talking American football in that case. So some type of American football league that they're playing in Europe. That guy, apparently never making the transition over to the NBA or the NFL. Again, I just don't know who that is. But Oscar Schmidt was one of those great non-NBA players. And again, most guys, even if they didn't have the NBA career that their basketball career was, because you think of a guy like Sabonis' dad, Arvydas Sabonis, maybe he wasn't quite the NBA player that he was the international player. He went to the NBA later in his career. So it was something, he's like, I'm going to go retire in the NBA, is basically what he said. Tony Kukoc, I think, was in the NBA a little bit later as well, too. But again, those guys for the most part, even most of the major international stars do have the NBA run at some point. But Oscar Schmidt never did. But he was a part of the 30 for 30 in the 1984 draft documentary. So it, of course, for the NBA, again, specifically, goes in as one of the great drafts in NBA history, if not arguably the greatest. Of course, obviously, Jordan is the third pick in that draft. I mean, if we're going draft order, of course, you got to start with Hakeem for being, again, the number 1 pick that year. And then you do also have Barkley in that draft. And I want to say Stockton in the 84 draft as well, too. So, again, 4 of the, 25, 35 greatest players of all time as well, too. 40, again, I don't know where you have to update the list. But still, one of every 10% of the 10, or the 10% of the 40 best players of all time. Hey, yo. I guess I don't know the best way to say it, but you have that many is pretty impressive. We have to go back and look at that 96 draft. Again, speaking of Kobe, obviously he is a part of that as well too. Barkley's the 5th pick in this draft. Yeah, Stockton as well too. And Rick Carlisle was a part of that documentary, but it was like, okay, this cool coach was also like, hey, he was a part of the class, but I think he was also on some of those Celtics teams that were making the finals run. Otis Thorpe, Kevin Willis, Sam Perkins, Jerome Kersey, Alvin Robertson, and Vernon Fleming all had 10,000 points for this draft. So what's that? 10 guys with 10K? Well over 100,000. I mean, because I guess you have multiple 15, 20, 30K in this draft. I mean, MJ's got 32K himself. So, well over 100,000 points just from a handful of guys in this class. You do have, like we were saying, Kobe, Iverson. Is it I guess it's not Kobe and KG in the same draft. Is it Peja? Is Peja Stojakovic in the 96 draft? Let's see what we've got going on here. Sharif Abdur-Rahim. Yeah, Peja. Oh, Jermaine O'Neal as well, too. Oh, wow. Chat, the guy we can't... Oh, I guess he is second. It is what it is. Denzel's co-star and he got game. I guess we'll refer to him that way. But, I mean, between those two guys, Iverson, Steve Nash, Marbury, Antoine Walker, Sharif Abdur-Rahim, Peja Stojakovic, Jermaine O'Neal. Jermaine O'Neal is the 9th scorer in this draft, and then Ilgauskas is 10. So maybe the I guess, and Camby, Derek Fisher, and Marcus Camby, even Ilgauskas as well too. Like in that list of names, if you just I guess with respectfully move Ilgauskas, why move Ilgauskas down? Ayo, pause. Why do we have to tear Ilgauskas down? I don't know why. Ayo, the man had a great career. Was helping LeBron get that team to the finals, right? It is what it is. Everybody says LeBron has no teammates. They never talk about Ilgauskas. Tony Delk with 5,000 points in this draft as well too. I guess shout out. But yeah, Peja 8th in this draft for scoring. I guess Sharif Abdur-Rahim, Antoine Walker, Stephon Marbury, obviously, great number careers as well too, putting up a lot of points. But you do have, I guess between MJ, Hakeem, and Barkley, I think is objectively more talented than Kobe, the co-star, and Iverson. Between those 3 guys, again, it is close. MJ and Kobe, it's not a wash, but obviously we're going to give MJ the little bit of the benefit of the doubt there. Kobe's going to keep it close, but you have Denzel's co-star next to Hakeem. I don't really know what that matchup looks like. I guess it's weird because it's the guards versus the forwards. So Barkley having to guard Iverson, it would be the X factor matchup of the whole draft. Barkley having to guard the guy that he picked number 1 in the all-time players draft would be, I guess, a crazy full circle moment. AI Barkley versus AI. Hey yo, I guess that's what it's gonna be, chat. The first ever AI basketball game. It's probably going to be Allen Iverson versus... No, it's probably going to be LeBron versus Jordan, right? Allen Iverson. I mean, shout out. AI playing AI would be cool. But, I mean, again, respectfully, if it's done tastefully, AI obviously consenting and everything. Pause. Again, we're talking about AI film usage here, but regardless, I think it would have to be... Or Bird and Magic. That could be kind of sick because I think that would be like people would still want to see that. I don't know. We'd have to see. I guess we'd have to. Is like a 12-year-old know about Bird and Magic. Again, I knew about Bird, but yeah, I'm not a guy to compare as well too because we're I think in the top level of NBA nerds. But and I would say Sam, we have to ask Sam, how old were you when you learned about Bird and Magic? Hey yo, I feel like they were just around. I feel like they were just they were just one of those, they were just knowledge that's like imparted to you when you're born. Again, all those, Michael Jordan as well too, but all of those guys. It's just like it's you get to a certain point where those guys have been around and been a part of a cultural figures for a long time, or I guess not necessarily a long time. Michael Jordan hadn't even been retired 2 seasons at that point, but regardless, again, they had been ingrained as cultural figures for a long time. So at some point it crosses over to when you're born, when they've been established. That knowledge just you're just born with that knowledge. You don't know about, it's like iconic songs, iconic movies. Movies are a little bit different. You kind of, I think, remember more so like when you see movies, and then as you go through, of course, obviously remember more, but music as well too. You kind of have your like I remember where I heard that song, but then there's just a ton of songs. Hey, all the classic songs that are just like I want to dance with somebody. It's like when was the first time you heard that song? I don't know. It just like in a mall, but I'm not even born yet, and somehow it's just like in we tread lightly. But I'm just saying that it's just one of those things that it's just ingrained knowledge that these things that you know about. And I guess what are we saying? Bird and Magic is what I guess what we're saying is it still one of those things? Does it ever wear off? Pause. I don't know. Because the NBA is still only like 75 years old. I would still say, like, I knew about Bird and Russell. Wilton, who's the guy? We just have Russell. Again, rest in peace. But, we knew about those guys. We were just defending Bob Cousy on the last live stream. I guess we're defending him again. George Mikan. Some of those, obviously, we didn't know everybody from that era just automatically. But I'm just saying, like, there are a handful of those legendary names. We'll keep it to kind of the main duos, but Russell and Wilt, Bird and Magic, Jordan and LeBron, not necessarily being era specific, but they are kind of ingrained, or I don't know if we're using that word again right there, but yeah, they are matched up with each other like those guys that were in the eras together. And maybe a credit a little bit to both of those guys as well too. Jordan probably didn't has in terms of guys that being closer, because I'm saying it, I'm Steph Curry, where you could easily, and in talent of course KD, but you could definitely make the Steph Curry case of that face of the league rivalry, like we're saying, duo at a same time type of type of guy there for, again, face of the league. Hey yo, is Wemby gonna have is it going to be Wemby and Shea, or is just going to be, is Wemby the next, chat, hey, yeah, we hate to jinx it for all the Spurs fans, headed into the playoff run. It is what it is. But I guess it would have to be LeBron versus Jordan, right? The first ever AI simulated real life basketball game where they're selling, I guess, what do we mean by that? The first ever. I'm thinking like they're selling tickets to it, or it's like on TV or something. It's like, it's broadcast as an actual event. It's like, Netflix is going to be streaming the AI one-on-one of Jordan versus LeBron. And it's going to be like, this is going to solve the debate. I mean, that would be crazy. Make no mistake. And again, we tread lightly. I think, we'd have to work out the stuff. You start going into the players that, have obviously moved on at this point, that you have to you do everything correctly. And again, not to, we bring up respectfully a guy again like Kobe or something like that, where you do have maybe more the ability to get more permission, to endeavor into those types of things. If again that were to be, an avenue that was to be pursued down the lane. And again, we're talking about you're listening to a guy that just loves basketball so much that he just wants to see, he just likes watching basketball. So I'm not again. I'm not saying I'm sitting here overlook. Oh, you're debating morality of AI or whatever. It's like, of course, of course. I'm not saying that we should just be, Netflix should just be ripping these guys' likenesses off and making up this AI technology and selling this event. That's whatever the thing, you got to be able to, again, obviously navigate everything correctly. But I'm just saying, once we get it approved, make no mistake, lock it in. I'm signing up, Chad. And I guess not. Maybe not first, but well, I guess we'll shift. We're not shifting the blame to make us feel better. I mean, if we're watching the event, we're watching the event. It is what it is. But I don't. Again, it just becomes like a more sophisticated 2K type of simulation. So it's like if people were so, I guess in some ways they are, but it's just like if 2K could sell a live version, and that's really the problem, is I guess you don't really have the holographic technology. So if 2K themselves were, again, and maybe it's just us with Netflix and some of these major studios and the monopolizing thing and sort of the changing industry as well too. So again, maybe it depends on the brand if Netflix does anything. And again, there's some things, obviously, that there are a lot of things that they do that obviously deserving criticizing. I'm just saying that in this case, maybe it would be the same thing, but for 2K, if they were to have like a live holographic simulated game, 95, the year that MJ's not there, 92 Bulls versus, I guess, what's the stacked? Do you go Heatles? You probably have to go 2016 Cavs, don't you? Because that gets you kind of the more equal balance there. With is the Heat too stacked? Hey yo. To go against the MJ Bulls teams, you throw in Rodman versus Bosch, and that does actually, you know what? I take it back. What am I doing, Chad? Hey yo, because Bosch is, both players talented in their own right, but that's a pretty even matchup there. Obviously, Dennis Rodman, one of the great. Dennis Rodman, I mean, again, with all due respect to Chris Bosch, Dennis Rodman's probably better defensively than Chris Bosch is offensively. Like, if we're just ranking guys, like, again, Dennis Rodman's probably one of the 10 best defensive players that's ever played in the NBA. I'm just kind of throwing that out there. But am I wrong? An old head, check me on that. Am I going to be doing a debate video here? One Dennis Rodman, defender. Ayo, I guess it is what it is. One Dennis Rodman basketball defender. Ayo, chat. We're defending Netflix and Dennis Rodman in the same 2 minutes. This is tough. I don't know what we're doing, but one Dennis Rodman defender that he was impactful in a basketball team versus 20 Dennis Rodman haters. It is what it is. I don't know, but again, that's a pretty even matchup, and I think MJ versus LeBron, like we're saying, that's pretty even matchup as well too. But Pippen versus Wade, and especially Wade at that point in his career, if you go. I guess 06 Bosch and 06 Wade. I think you kind of want 2013 LeBron. Obviously, you want that little bit of a later version LeBron when he's on the Heat there. But that little bit of a later version Wade is still pretty good. But I don't know if he would have been quite like. I kind of actually, as I'm talking it out, I kind of think the Bulls are taking the Heat. I didn't expect to turn this into an AI matchup in our mind. But I guess we'd have to, because the Heat necessarily didn't have a crazy bench as well too at the time. I guess with all due respect to Norris Cole, Norris Cole versus Steve Kerr, like they're battling it out. Shout out. It's a playoff point guard bench battle. What's the order of words there? It's a playoff bench point guard battle for the ages. But I do think that the trio matchup would be even with the Heat. I mean, I think 2016 Kyrie is better versus a little better against Pippen than, and I'm thinking of later Wade as well too against the Heat playing against himself, against the Spurs in those last two finals runs where again with all I would say that Wade's career in that span with LeBron definitely changed more. Like, you think Wade, from 04 to 08, or even 08 to, 07 to 11 was like a pretty, so what would be, I guess just even, any of those 4 years there, like pretty, getting better as a player, accomplishing more for sure individually, made a finals early on, got a scoring title, right? I don't think he won an MVP, yeah, but he did get a scoring title in there. Did lead the league in points per game. So again, was still able to, rack up some accomplishments for sure. But that 4-year span from, what was it, 11 to 14, 11, 12, 13, 14 was definitely, a little bit of a moving into a different phase of his career type of role for him there in Miami. And he was definitely, again, a different player by the 13-14 season than he was in the 10-11 season, because he was still, it is what it is. We're just talking about a career, but a great career. So I don't think we have to, we're not necessarily saying that Dwayne Wade's not a great player to just evaluate some of the seasons here. But let's see. Yeah, 13-14, he was still an all-star, but you see he wasn't able to make All-NBA, and he was second team. Well, I guess 10-11 was first team All-NBA still. 10-11 or 9-10, because I don't know if I'm reading across right. First team in 9-10, and then I need the indicator line. I need the guide. It's just form a habit, We're just looking at it so much on Basketball Reference. Though, speaking of those Gen Z debates, I was seeing a couple of the quizzes where I was like, I guess I'll watch those as well too. See how well we know our stuff. But there was a couple where they just pulled up like the most random Basketball Reference page, and I was like, oh yeah, like I guess maybe I'm not in the 1% of basketball nerd. If I could just look at some of these Basketball Reference pages with how crazy they were, and be like, and maybe again looking at some stuff, once you dial in sort of what you're looking at as well too. Sometimes the first couple times, oh yeah, now I know I'm thinking in the right lanes, and then you can kind of get your answers a little bit better there maybe. But I guess 08-09 was 30 a game, but I guess in his rookie season 03-04 16 a game, and then 06-07 4 years after that 27 a game, 4 years after that in 9-10, so the season before, of course, the big three gets there, he's 26 a game. And then 10-11, the season that the season that they lose the finals to the Spurs, the revenge year, in 13-14, he's 19 points a game. So he goes from 25 a game in 10-11 to 19 a game in 13-14. So again, he just is in a little bit of a different phase. Still pretty efficient, though. You got to give him his credit there at 45% from the field, but just not quite the same, consistent attack that he had. And, it showed up. So I guess point being, if it was weirdly enough, the team that lost the finals was the best version of the team that they had, it's no lie. And of course, again, obviously LeBron was able to get to that next level, and finally, put all the narratives to bed, get the 2 championship runs, shout out. But I do think that if we were, which guard could specifically attack Pippen better? Hey, yo, Chad, are we having some weather technical difficulties? I don't know. I feel like it's like the mic stand is like staticky right now. Like it's shorting the microphone out. Like we're being pretty still. I feel like the cord's not moving. But hey, yo, it's been storming all day, so I don't know. We're blaming it on something. It is what it is. But either way, I guess that got us distracted. MJ, LeBron, what are we saying? I don't know. Who's going after Pippen better? Do we have to ask AI? Maybe we just run the simulation right now. Do we have to ask AI? It is what it is. And I guess the part for, is it individual seasons, or is it somehow, could AI make like an accumulative version of the player? Could you be like, average MJ out from 91 to 93, the first three-peat version? Can I see like one version of MJ from the three-peat, one version of MJ from the second peat again? I don't know if I'm phrasing that in the right way, but it's just like, what is the version of the player, I guess, that not best represents that era, but it's just like the mean. I guess you could just find whatever, some type of average player it is. Yeah, we're overcomplicating the rules. Again, this hasn't even happened yet. It is what it is. And I don't know what this has to do with Hornets versus Magic, but maybe they need to maybe they needed to run some sims, some 2K sims, to see what was going on. And that would be, I guess, fun for training. for practice, if you had some type of like holographic practice situation, and you had maybe simulations that you were running against, actually like setting up like what their offense would be like. I mean, it's still cool to have a practice squad. I guess we're not trying to take away jobs in that sense. The NFL practice squad is obviously still like a legit thing. It's still an important part of the league. So do you just lose the practice squad if you have AI training? But I feel like for NBA, the NBA, the G League is separate from the NBA. It's not like the G League is training with the NBA, but it's just not a part of the roster and then not there on game day. Okay, maybe I don't know the full dynamics of NFL. Like the punters are always off by themselves. Like do the practice squad, I'm sure they have their own separate fields and their own separate times where it's like, okay, they're not hanging out with AR. Our practice squad linemen hanging out with regular start. Is it like varsity JV situation? I don't know. But regardless, they're still there, like, competing with the NFL guys. Like, the G League guys aren't directly competing with the NBA guys. So, again, we're not necessarily taking an NBA job. And you still need the you'd still need the G League at that point if it was still around, I guess. Maybe the NBA might just take away that job anyways. But, you would still, in theory, need the G League because, you still need to develop the basketball talent to play for yourself. I guess we're not considering the fact that you could also have AI players the other way. I guess then it is what we're saying. That would be crazy though. Again, it makes sense for people to, if you could have the technology to run like really good holographic games, it would make sense for people to want to go see that. Again, there are like actual memories to the real versions of those players. And it's the nostalgia of remembering what it was like to go back and view those players and, the fun of living in the hypothetical. Again, we have to give ourselves a little bit of leeway here. Like we go see movies. Again, if we went and saw a 3D movie on a basketball court, like, again, is it any different? I don't know. But, again, if we were watching like a new version of the league with creative players and stuff like that, that would get a little strange because then you're like, well, what am I watching now? And like, let's be honest, that is the part as well. When people say like, AI is going to take jobs, like that is the part. And, obviously there are some jobs like comparing to the NBA, totally different, all the realistic jobs that are compared to like NBA rosters out there. But, I guess it maybe if there's a trace of truth in it that could be applied to other places, I don't know. But, you do, at least for me anyways, like the part that I did, and I guess now that I'm thinking about it as well too, maybe I just needed to get hooked up online because the part when I was doing franchise and association modes that I would lose interest in is when you would like have just start getting to these random creative player draft classes and you're just like the league, I don't even know what this league is at this point. This league is all the players that I love have retired. They're all gone. My creative player has, won 17 straight titles and defeated every legend that we've ever, held beloved. And now all of a sudden it's just generic creative player guys throughout the league. Again, maybe, now, but, still you're importing real rosters. So you're just reflecting real life at that point. Like once you're getting into... And, again, we love basketball as well, too. But I guess it's both. It's both. Shout out. People can be cool, chat, as much as they can be, a bit much at times. They hey, yo, shout out. You got to see the good side in people. And, sometimes it displays when they're playing basketball. It is what it is. And, when you're watching as well, too, again, maybe it goes the other way. Sometimes. So I guess, in some ways it is just, it is what it is. It's just a reflection of everyday life. But point being, I think that would get a little strange if people were genuinely interested. I guess, who's to say, talk to us in 10 years. But, oh, never mind. We're going to rethink that comment. It is what it is. Pump the brakes. But... what are we saying? In 10 years, again, if it's just like, well, everybody's decided and this is all we've got, then it's like, again, maybe I like basketball so much, like, hey, I'll watch it just for the love of the game. I'm not going to sit here and say, well, I love it as much. Again, probably not. But already there, chat. We're already locking it in. AI basketball, it's happening. But for the future, they're taking NBA players' jobs as well too. How good is Claude or Gemini? Which one of these AIs is really crazy right now? Is Nvidia still around? Do they have a chip that's going to take over the NBA? Like, maybe the NBA could use a little AI boost, honestly. That would be a turning point, though, I guess, in sports, would be the AI expansion team. Hey, yo. It is what it is. Do we need to ask ChatGPT how long before there's an AI expansion team? Maybe that's why the league is waiting right now for announcing that. Because, of course, it has been rumored. There was the meetings that were supposed to be taking place, and they didn't, I think, announce anything officially. Did they approve the locations? If anything, that's all it was. They approved basically that it could be Seattle and Vegas. So I don't even know if they approved that. Well, I guess, again, you still have to put the bids up and stuff. We could do a little research and see what's going on there. But what is that? I guess you still have to have a location and stuff. That would be the next move. You don't even have a location. You're not even selling games. It's just all virtual. Hey, yo. Would that be crazy? I guess there is, like, I don't know what it costs to power a data center. A data center streaming an AI basketball league versus the infrastructure to run a basketball league. Hey, yo, Chad. Again, we hate to put out ideas. Ice Cube, that's your next league. The AI, the future big three. He's got he's like, he takes retired players and he's just like, we'll just make AI juniors. And he's just like, Joe Johnson Jr. can go play against Marcus Camby Jr. And then that'll be big three AI, the future. Oh, Chad, it is what the NBA is a little bit as well too. Again, it's it's, I guess, I don't know exactly if it's going to be Bronny versus Cayenne, but again, those guys are making their names for themselves, celebrities in their own right. Peja's kid, though, I guess he did just announce today that he's going back to Illinois. Peja, take the NBA. I know the NIL, or not Peja, Andre. I think it's just Andre, right? It's not Andrade. Is it Andre? I guess. We need to actually listen to these highlights when we're watching them. It is what it is. But he did. I saw the reports that he was headed back to Illinois. So, a bummer for Michigan fans, hoping, selfishly, of course, and we got to enjoy the title that we just won. But obviously, they're selfishly hoping that we're going to be as competitive as possible next year. We'll just put it that way. But Illinois, if they bring back a lot of the talent, of course, is going to be just the experience gained from the run that they had as well, too. Again, him specifically is going to be a menace there. But, he wasn't quite getting, looking at the Tankathon mock anyways, wasn't quite getting first-round buzz anyways. Hey, yo, Chad, speaking of, Miles Bridges fouled on a lob. I mean, this is, still pretty tough at this point. It does not really seem like Charlotte is going to make that push. There was a moment in the second quarter when I think Brandon Miller, he hit maybe one, I don't remember if it was a three or just a normal jumper before that, but he hit one shot, and then something happened. They got a turnover. He came back down in transition and then took like a kind of rushed pull-up three, but it went in. And I remember he cut it to, did they cut it to 21 at that point? And I was like, okay, if they get one more shot, they can get it into the teens here. And I think that was the last time when I thought they can get it into the teens here. I think that's the last time I thought that this game was close at that point. Or like, it had the potential to be like, okay, here we go. Maybe Charlotte can actually do something. But at this point, a constant 25 to 30 point game halfway through the third quarter. Charlotte started tanking too late in the season. It's unfortunate that this game doesn't even count. Oh, chat. Oh, chat. We got to have a yawn counter for this one. It is what it is. Hey, yo. LaMelo, well, I guess, we can't say anybody's putting us to sleep. Pause. Whoa. Hey, yo. But we can't say their performances are putting us to sleep either. But, you know what we're saying. We're saying the game is boring. It is what it is. It's unfortunate this is not one of these complain about the product games. I guess that's where that's where I get a little not upset. That really grinds my gears. But there is times when sometimes, this will happen when a team will just smoke another team. It is what, like, the Magic are just punking the Hornets tonight. This is not a game where I think you would look at it and be like, is the NBA, what are the ratings? Is it falling apart? Maybe you look at different things, the location of, is it the prime situation? Is it the play-in in general? Is there something about, that the marketability of those things together and the fact that they don't broadcast the game in the last minute that, are there things about that people aren't quite tuning in yet? Again, I'm not saying that, the ratings compared to the play-in compared to whatever, or something that the NBA is more concerned about than normal. Hey, what? I'm not sure it's, their ratings worries is increased as it is. So, again, I'm not sure that whatever is happening, this is going to be that thing. But it just reminds me of times when maybe, sometimes those types of games get misinterpreted as, again, bad. Again, it's not good product for sure. And you do want the league to be competitive. And we were referencing a while back as well, too. There was, of course, a handful of seasons back where it felt like just so many games would get into this. Like, legitimately, so many regular season games felt like they would get to this point where you just, 25-30 again, to where this team is no longer, and, even in, yeah, see, Chad, this is bad. This is bad. Hey, yo, I'm not even moving. I'm not even, well, I guess we are, but I'm not. It is what it is. But, the cord's broken. We might have to switch the outlet soon here. It is what it is. But, the cord's broken. Pause that. Hey, yo. But what were we saying before that? Something about the competitiveness of the league. Yes, sir. The product is, I think, a little made up in some, other decisions than just sometimes, is a team. And, that was definitely, of course, conversation and just like style of play. Be like, oh, these teams are jacking up threes. Sometimes a team is 20%. Sometimes a team is 40%. And it was, kind of funny as well, too, as, the league was adjusting and, the analysis adjusting even as well, too. People having to, 40% from three tonight. This team's 20%. I guess that's just what it is. But, this is literally just, the Magic playing so much more physical and, different than what the Hornets are capable of here. And I guess going back to what we were saying earlier about drama in the play-in game as well, too, with what the Hornets could be thinking after this game and what teams could be thinking, of course, after playoff games in general. We were saying that, after every team gets eliminated, that we're going to put them in the trade machine and see what they're going to be getting for Giannis. And, it's just that sort of thing that you do is to make a sort of extra major, if you should say, an extra major evaluation of your team after a playoff exit or after a dramatic playoff exit. Sometimes it can be, of course, a devastating last-minute situation, or it can be like this, where you're just like, oh, man, are we just not on the level of these guys? And that kind of is, I think, what you would think about here. Let's see, LaMelo. I mean, what do you even do? Like LaMelo with that drive, it's like you're down. The Magic aren't even playing defense at this point. Like as locked in and as physical as they were earlier in the game, and what we saw with our own eyes, and how much they crushed them there. I mean, the Magic are still only at 86, so they're probably going to end this. I guess what do we got? 5 minutes or 8 minutes? 5 minutes left in the third quarter. Hey, yo, chat. But they could still probably be. Do they go bench guys at some point? They still might be under 110 for this game, and kind of end up being like a low scoring game, I guess, for as dominant as it is. If they end up at 110, what is Charlotte gonna end up at that point? They could get to they're at 60 right now. I guess maybe 90, 92. So, that's still an 18-point deficit at that point. And again, I guess kind of cut it close, maybe a little bit later in the fourth. At some point does that's still cutting the lead in half though at this point. 26 right now, so 10-point off the lead. What do they need to get this to, chat? I mean, 20. If there's any way they can get this to 20 before the fourth, I mean, we'll give them a little bit of credit, because that at least gives you a couple minutes, at least from a fan instant entertainment standpoint. You get a couple minutes to cut it to 15, and then we can get our mindset locked back in. I guess, you could storm back to, you could cut it to 6 in like the 8th minute to the 4th minute, and now, you're down 6 with 4 minutes left. But 88-61, Chad, they just need to go on a little bit of run. LaMelo, oh! He spun and he cooked Paolo, and then he just got blocked by BETSTAMP. Ayo, I don't know I think I just butchered his last name. But a good move on Paolo for sure. Just unfortunately kind of throwing it up at the rim a little bit after that. Shot clock violation, I guess so, because, of course, like we said, he just got blocked. So, I mean, immediately once the Magic kind of feel them, pause going back into the game a little bit, they're starting to, turn the pressure back up. And 35 as well, too, as, impacted both ends. Pause. Like we're saying here, offensive rebound. They just showed him cleaning up a little putback attempt there, getting the dunk. But this is, a potential, evaluation game. And sometimes these playoff games can confirm things that maybe you wanted to, potentially think as well, too, going into the series if you're a team. Like, and again, we're talking hypothetically here as well, too. But we need to maybe read more Hornets blogs and see what the reports are saying. But, in theory, if the front office was already kind of looking to trade LaMelo, then, a game like this would be that type of game where you're just looking for a reason to, commit to the basketball move that you already want to commit to. And if he has a great playoff series, it's one of those things like where you're just like, oh, well, I guess we have to, quote unquote, have to. Again, we're talking from their hypothetical perspective or somebody's hypothetical perspective, but I guess nobody, because everybody loves Melo's game, right? It's perfect. Hey, it is what it is. But if they were talking like that, then this is again that type of game that you're just like, okay, well, at least the fan base, if they're ever going to get behind a move like this, then it would be at a moment like this. And it is also just you can't necessarily say it's not important that they didn't show up for one game, but it is that extra importance of the play-in versus the playoffs, themselves. Again, I'm not saying that the play-in games are more important than playoff games, but normal playoff games. Again, we can't even refer to the play-in games as playoff games. They're kind of their own separate, non-existent thing. But regardless, a classic bad game one, or, a bad game one is a sort of a common result, we should say. A classic. I don't know if it's classic, but, it's a common result that you do get. And then you can immediately bounce back. Again, you still have to, make up some ground in the series. There's some definite math for getting the early advantage there. And BETSTAMP again? Hey, yo, Chad. He's flying around. It's like a second win for this team off the bench. He's provided them some defense around the basket as they've tried to attack here. And I think that with the threes not going for Charlotte, that was their little counter. So you got to give, shout out to Jamal Mosley. He might be saving his job. Who would have thought going into this game, the LaMelo versus Jamal Mosley, Jamal Mosley saved their job game? Now maybe Orlando fans are looking for 4 blocks, 5 points for Betazdi. Hey, Grant Williams just chucking up a 3. Way off. It is what it is. We got Paolo changing ends of the court. 3 minutes left in the third. They've got Sion on Paolo, and that is, I think, maybe what we're trying to, nothing against Sion James, but one of the reasons why kind of watching this game, looking at this team, I do kind of see the case for trading LaMelo at this point. Not the basketball talent of it per se, but the basketball construction of it, where it's not the most physical team. And, I guess LaMelo could, obviously there are, defensive guards that are great with, LaMelo does have the measurables, like he could still hold up for sure. But I don't know, again, what the physicality strength overall here is. Like, Franz Paolo and Desmond Bane, like, that is a pretty big lineup. Anthony Black, pause. Like, that is a very strong, aggressive lineup there that is attacking the glass, and they are getting to the basket. And they're definitely going to be, some post-up situations, and they're going to be bullying you around. So you're going to, need to have your physicality locked in. An offensive rebound, they bring in DeSouza. as well too. He kind of fits that profile. Is that Carter again, chat? Hey, yo. They got tight end like looping around, running a route there. Getting the pass. We got Brandon Miller running some offense. The Hornets haven't really run anything through Knuppel tonight. Hey, yo. I mean, he did also have a moment as well, too, to start the second half where he hit a couple of threes. And I am, again, that's what I'm talking about. This is like a major evaluation game. That is, I guess, the good part about 7-game series is not that, I guess you can't say, finality of a result. You do have moments in, of course, close series the other way, or injuries or something. There are those circumstances, obviously, where you look at it and go, more what if. Like, oh, man, we were right there. We could have had it. What could have been? But either way, for where the Magic are at right now, for where the Hornets are at right now, like, when you have the one-game situation, you have the more tendency to make the major overreaction than kind of seeing the team play out in that sense. So, I kind of sit here and I'm wondering, like, hey, yo, like, what is, and we've loved Charles Lee all year as well, too. And again, I think as I would step away from this game and immediately as I'm trying to judge the reaction, I'm like, okay, it's just a bad game. Like, take it in stride. Again, if it was a 7-game series, they would have a chance to bounce back and to make up for it and to, confirm maybe a little bit more what this matchup would be against this team or what, our informed opinion of them should be. But either way, this is a tough game for him and a tough game for LaMelo as well, too, because the way that the roster is constructed, you go back to what we were saying, it doesn't have that crazy wing yet at this point. And Knuppel is I guess, what do you say a wing? But when we say wing on this pod, I feel like we usually mean more of a forward on this pod. You can have like a 2-guard wing. Like Knuppel could be a 2-guard wing a little bit. But I think, a little bit more forwardy, like Bridges. Bridges is a 2-guard sometimes, but Bridges is also a 3, and sometimes even Bridges is a 4. So that's, to me, more of a wing. Like, I would say, is LeBron a wing at this point? He might be a little, a little too big to be a wing. Hey, it is what it is. I mean, I'm sure he'll take the compliment. But, there's like Tatum. Tatum is like high-end wing, and then, I don't know, like Josh Hart kind of versatile. I guess, New York as well, too. But, like we're saying, the Hornets don't, I guess, have that forward wing is really what the point is quite yet. They do, with Kalkbrenner and stuff, they have some good center guys that are kind of some sneaky, 5 men. But nobody that's like a small ball center as well, too, that you'd be like, okay, if he got switched out into a forward, like that's, and Draymond's obviously a extreme example of it, but, the Draymond, I guess Bridges, we're just forgetting about Bridges. He's that one guy. But, Sion versus Paolo, like, again, with all due respect to Sion, and Sion, I'm sure, is a great defender as well, too. But just in theory, they might need a little bit more from that type of spot for guys like, Paolo and, Western Conference matchups as well, too. If they were, to potentially, I guess, the Hornets thinking about finals matchups. It is what it is. But just in a team-building sense, who you're going to be competing up against, who are the best teams in the league. Like, if you could trade LaMelo for something like that, like, would New York, I guess, are we putting LaMelo in the trade machine in the fourth quarter? It is what it is, chat. We've got 2:45 left in the third, and LaMelo can go into the trade machine. We've got, let's see here, him with 18. I guess the one guy kind of decent tonight. So can we cook him too much? 6 for 15 from the field. But the timing, I don't know. Again, the con man 3 for 9. So I guess it really was just the one stretch where he hit the couple of jumpers that it looked good. And then the bench, unfortunately, it is what it is. Grant, Kalkbrenner, Kobe White, Josh Green, Sion James. Again, it's a tough night. Like, you might want to say, like, rework the roster. But I don't know. I still look at the team. I like the team. And, again, we have to see what is available because it's fun and we're NBA fans. It's LaMelo. It's nothing personal. I don't know if he's going to be bummed if we, like, propose a Lakers trade or something and he gets to go to LA. Again, he might be fine with that. And, again, if you still have Brandon Miller and Knuppel there in Charlotte, like, those are some pretty great building block pieces going forward with what they've proven that they could potentially be this year for sure as well. Diabate, 1 for 4 from the field tonight, 17 minutes, minus 14 from the box plus minus. Oh no, the score 93-66. It is what it is. But yeah, Grant Williams 0 for 4, Kyle Brenner 0 for 2, Kobe White 0 for 3, Josh Green 0 for 1. And then yeah, Sion 1 for 1, but unfortunately, just not quite enough at this point. So, you could, and the fact that you have Knuppel as a creator is giving you a little bit of leeway as well, too. If you did go in a little bit of a different guard direction, and maybe even Kobe White as well, too. We'd have to look and double check and see maybe what kind of contract he would be on, and if he would have some type of immediate future. And I know, again, maybe this is not the game for it. And LaMelo just hit again, 3 for 7 for 3, 7 for 16. Hey, yo, somebody's feeding him information. They can cut this to, I guess they could still chat. It's close. It's close. Like, again, they just need that last push, pause. Not even that last push, just that last push to get it to 20 to start the run all over again. It is what it is. But you get a new life, momentum. It's a real thing. So if they can just get a stop and a couple buckets here, they're good to go. Maybe they only have one. I mean, hey, we'll move the line. If they can get it to 22, if they can get it to 18 points with 10 minutes to go in the fourth, then we'll redo it. If they can get to 19 points with 9 minutes, then we'll redo it. And 19 points in 12 minutes, maybe is the proper way. But hey, either way, again, you got some flexibility with where your roster can go. So I wonder if you could turn LaMelo into that type of piece, who could be, a wing guy. Again, he has definitely shown, we'll say a need. Unfortunately, it is a need to take on a lot of responsibility on offense. It isn't necessarily just like this is what the Hornets are doing. It's just this is what LaMelo does. LaMelo takes these shots. LaMelo takes these drives. He's going to have crazy moments. But as he continues to mature, I think he's going to continue to be a more refined version of himself. And it's still not a crazy... I guess we have to go back and double check the free agency stuff as well, too. That could be a part of it. But if you could get that type of wing to... Because... Or maybe the secret as well, too, would be like a tiny little Brandon Miller transformation. Like just a little bit of creatine for our guy Brandon Miller is all that we're saying. Like just a little bit, I guess, pause. Do we say water retention? But, just a little extra bulk. Like if he was, because even still, and again, if we bring up even like Tatum as well, too, obviously we're in a different tier if we're just talking the play style. But I do think that there was a little bit of a thought process that, that he maybe could guard some of those guys. And I'm not saying that he can't. But I'm just saying, I guess in my mind, I still kind of think of those guys as having a physical advantage over him, pause, at this point. And, even going into, I guess those are, being some of the main ones. But again, even guys like Franz and Bane as well, too, just feel like, Bane a 2-guard, but feels like a good matchup against Miller there. And I mean, doesn't even move when LaMelo tries to run into him. Actually, LaMelo just completely loses the basketball. It's like a high school player. It's like when a high school player is like way stronger than another high school player. You're just like, oh man, like, are we sure that these teams are in the right leagues? Like, we need to make sure that the varsity and the junior varsity are separated properly next time. But we got Bane right now on varsity, LaMelo on JV weight class plan. Maybe all these guys. That's what what is the reaction? Charlotte's gonna have to look internally and see what is the reaction after this type of loss, after this type of performance. Again, we don't even know if they've lost yet, but we're basically saying that they have. There's a whole quarter left, and we're just already saying that they've lost. It is what it is. Lock it in. Win percentage, we don't care. I guess we don't care that it's been wrong before is maybe the thing, because we would care that it's right now. We're actually agreeing with it, and they have with a minute left, Miller here actually working on DeSosa, and I mean, loses it. It is what it is. The Magic get a turnover. They've got a transition bucket. Alaba dunk to end the fourth, chat. Hey, yo. You cut it to 25. You're like, okay, you know, are we going on a little run? Nope. Immediately, a lob and a transition. I was saying, the Hornets just take a timeout with a minute left in the third? Oh, man, that would have been another down 28. Charles Lee, that would have been another Charles Lee moment there. But, oh, LaMelo almost getting karma for the other game where he fell on Bam. In the last couple of minutes here, I guess I didn't see who that was falling on in there. Was that Bane that almost just rolled up on his ankle in the same way? So, you know, we would never wish injury on a guy, especially, you know, our guy LaMelo. Hey, yo. But I'm just saying it would be karma. It is what it is. You know, we can't deny that. And we got Franz with a dunk on the other end, takes it back to 30. LaMelo doesn't even care. He just chucks up a 3. That was like a legitimately, I don't care. I don't even want to play offense anymore shot. These are offensive shots that you take when you do not want to play offense anymore. I don't think Charlotte wants to play defense, but they definitely do not want to play offense. Knuppel lets Bane go right by him, chat. Hey, maybe you trade the Nipster. Hey, yo. Is Con Knuppel the Michael Carter Williams of the class? Hey, yo. I hate to say it. It is what it is. Do we have to ask the AI? Hey, yo, chat, coming up next is Con Knuppel, Michael Carter Williams. Hey, yo. I guess fortunately for Con Knuppel, he's not going to be Rookie of the Year because that's going to be Cooper Flag. But, you know, it might be close. And I guess he made a compelling case. So we'll find out right after this if it's just, who was a rookie that had a bad playoff game. We'll have to do some research there, too. Do we just throw out a name and blame him? I don't know. But is it Ben Simmons or Michael Carter Williams? We'll just, you know, make it Philly players. I don't know. But right up after this, chat. Hey, yo, we'll investigate the Hornets' demise. How are they down 30? Rem and Sam, 60 minutes. Right after this. All right, chat, we are back, and we've got the Black Knight on BET up next, so we'll be doing play-by-play for that instead of this Hornets versus Magic game. Unfortunately, the league has not canceled it for the fourth quarter. You've still got to go out and play it. You can't just, like, tell the Warriors and the Suns they got to go early. I mean, there are all kinds of, pause, but, entertainment professions, I mean, like, live... all types of live performances in general where it feels like, the schedule's going all out of whack. I guess, I was thinking more of like a comedy mindset of like, are like rushing a comedian. Like, are they rushing rushing Steph Curry and Devin Booker out there like they're comedians, like up next? Like, hey, like, don't, like the game's a blowout. Pause. Like, you got to go now. Like, you guys got to play the game now. There's nothing to watch. But it usually goes, I guess it kind of goes both ways, pause. But sometimes the other way with comedians as well, too, where, I mean, then that would be the overtime factor for the games, where it's like, okay, this comedian, we didn't need triple overtime for this guy over here. We still got another game to go. But regardless, we do have a fourth quarter, maybe something crazy, though. At some point, teams will, I guess, resort to the benches, and we'll get a good look at the, some Jet Howard minutes. I guess, hey, never mind, keep it on, chat, pause, keep the game going. If our guy Jet Howard doesn't get in this game, that is, what does that say about, I guess, the Hornets? It doesn't say anything about Jet Howard. What does that say about the Hornets, chat? It is what it is. Do they even know how to win a game by 30 if you don't play Jet Howard? The worst 30-point win of all time. No Jet Howard minutes. But, hey, is it time to eviscerate the Hornets? 72 points in a play-in game? Oh, chat, this is tough. And again, youth and experience, I'm sure all of these things matter. And again, this type of game only would have mattered a little bit in the sense of, I'm sure we could look up all kinds of teams getting punks. Like, hey, like, let's, I'm sure OKC never did, because it seems like OKC always, makes the right move. But I guess let's look up OKC. I'm thinking... like that Chris Paul team, did they have maybe a lopsided playoff game? And, they had, a string full of years there where they went the other way and sort of aggressively lost. And then 40 wins, didn't quite have the play-in established at that point. So we'd have to go back and double check. They probably would have been, a 9 or a 10 seed. with 40 wins here, though, I guess I don't remember exactly what their lottery looked like that year specifically, but 40 and 42 in 22-23 had them at 10th in the Western Conference. So they would have been, yes, a play-in team in 22-23 if that had been a thing. They would have played the Pelicans that year, and then the Lakers would have played the Timberwolves, I guess, as the 7-8. But, and I guess LeBron, and is this a Davis hurt year here? Oh no, this is when they went to Denver and then lost 0-4. So I mean, this could have shaken up the playoffs in a totally crazy way, because they got the Grizzlies in the first round, and then that's right, the Warriors in the second. Definitely favorable matchups, having Davis there for sure, and then LeBron, just the size factor. Pause on both those two teams. And as the Grizzlies teams, that was as the Grizzlies team started to turn as well too. I don't know where that goes in the Memphis that we're finding the West timeline, but that was the first playoff going into it where it's like, I mean, again, Davis and LeBron, hey yo, you can never get, you're never gonna. There is respect, there's honor in losing to those guys. I guess speaking of the Black Knight, honor, I guess, being defeated by the greatest, but. I don't think that's a quote from the movie, but I guess the sentiment of chivalry and knighthood, shout out. But getting transported into the magic world of the NBA, shout out. That's what we'll do, chat. A Black Knight remake, but it's the NBA. I guess we tread lightly, but I guess just the idea of a magical NBA world. I guess it's just like you going into Space Jam. I don't know, but Space Jam's just real life in. It's just real life, right? I don't know. But, the magical portal situation, I guess. And that is real as well, too, in a sense. But either way, I guess, no magical portal for the Thunder to get the play-in. The magical portal is like, or the play-in is like the magical portal of the playoffs. It's like, whoa, how did they, pause, but, hey, yo. But, it's like, hey, how'd they get in there? Oh, okay. It is what it is. We started it, pause. We had to get there. But, regardless, it's not like the Thunder could have gotten smoked in the play-in game by the 42 and 40 Pelicans, which, again, maybe that's the issue. Maybe as I'm saying it out loud, you're like, yeah, if you get smoked by a 40-win team in a, any type of situation, that is, you're going to have to definitely reevaluate. So it would have been CJ McCollum, Zion for 29 games, Brandon Ingram for 45, Trey Murphy. This would have been like the Herb Jones year, maybe? The Herb Jones year, but 9 a game for Herb Jones. Jonas Valanciunas as well, too, for 79 games. So, yeah, Valanciunas playing a lot instead of the Zion minutes, for sure. That's exactly how you win 42 games right there, because it is, still kind of consistent production enough. I guess, 14 a game. Like, it's fine. You have... McCollum putting up 20 a game. Like, you get a couple of veterans out there. It is what it is. They'll win you a couple games. Brandon Ingram is out there for a couple. He'll win you a couple games. Zion will win you a couple games. It is what it is. But yeah. So they're a fine team. They probably wouldn't have smoked the Thunder that year. The Thunder probably make the playoffs. It is what it is. But regardless, they. I guess we'll check here before we say if they did or not have that type. I'm trying to think. The Celtics, had, of course, that success early on of, making the conference championship. And that does, of course, become a little different as well, too. Like, you do have a proven thing to... What are we... Oh, we're on the Pelicans here? I thought we were on the Thunder. We clicked on the wrong team there. Here, we'll go to the next season when they made the playoffs. And I guess, hey, yeah, we're all over the map. We wanted the season before that, because, yeah, this would have been the Dallas season. So I guess you could, and you wouldn't have necessarily have overreacted to that too much, because it was your first playoff run with that duo. So, and Luka was cooking, and PJ Washington, like I think the Thunder were. And, unlike the Hornets here, I do not think that the Hornets were like, oh, well, we had a game plan going into this game, and then it just did not pan out. I mean, they did cut to Charles Lee at one point on the sideline in the first quarter, and Stan Van Gundy pointed it out as well, too, after they got back from the mic'd up segment. And Charles Lee was like, hey, I think we're still getting good shots. And he's like, Stephen Guy's like, I don't know about that. He's like, I don't really know if you are. And, I guess the Magic have been playing tough. And it's been a combo of the Hornets have not necessarily been up to the level of the physicality as well, too. So there is, like, a lack of, a lack of effort to get into a good look as well, too, combined with, again, you're going to have the fact that the Magic are just locked in as well, but then turnovers and like getting stripped and losing the ball even before you're getting into your shot attempts. So again, it's like, there's not really like a consistent offense here that I don't know what he's seeing. Maybe just trying to be encouraging to the guys, keep it up, team. But maybe not the time to tell him that. Light a fire under him, Chad. I don't know. Doc Rivers be like, I know how to coach champions. You guys are not champions. Is that what he told the Bucks? He definitely started telling him about his championships. He's like, I'm a Hall of Famer now. You guys have to listen to me. And then next thing you know, hey, yo. And I guess they did take the Rockets to 7. So, again, here now we have to investigate the series. Was it a game 1 stunner? And then, after that kind of getting, I guess, game 1, 108-23. Like it was a little bit, again, do you say lopsided? I guess, now we investigate the full scope of the game. What was it like the first quarter of the first game of the first playoff series with Shane? These guys, 28-20, 42-30. So, they kind of crept to the lead over the course of the game. I guess the end of the third quarter would have been the maybe the biggest lead that they had, because OKC did win the fourth quarter by 6 points there, so making a little bit back on the margin. Anyways, end of the third, they were up by 21 anyways, so again, a little bit of a decisive victory there for Houston. And Charlotte was very, very successful against Orlando in the regular season as well too. So again, in a 7-game series, they might be able to take Orlando still might win. And they are the 8th seed, technically the better regular season team, AO, even though, Charlotte was favored going into this game. And that's another thing as well, too. Like, Orlando is just, like we said earlier, in the year, they're the team that does the opposite of what you want. So you want them to play well against a team like Boston at the end of the regular season that's like, playing all their bench guys. Like, you want your starters to go out there and get the win against the other team's bench. Nope, that's not going to happen. You maybe want them to comfortably win and just get into the play-in in that first game against Philly. No, that's not going to happen. They're favored against Charlotte. You want Charlotte to win, and we want Charlotte in the playoffs because they're fun offense and been, an incredibly entertaining team in the second half of the season. And, speaking of fun offenses, Orlando has literally not been that whatsoever. I guess they have been, fun tonight. I guess, have they been a 10 out of 10 entertaining? The game has been boring, so that's been a bummer. Would they be the same type of, quote unquote high level execution in a last minute team going back and forth scenarios? I guess we'd have to, they'll get a good playoff matchup here against Detroit, so they'll definitely be able to, of course, prove how legit this is. But again, in a 7-game series, like we're saying, they would have a chance to prove themselves and to at least tone down the over. That's what we're trying to get to. They would have a chance to tone down the overreaction. So do you overreact to one game like it's a one game? It's the 1 game scenario that is. Do you overreact to it like it's the NFL playoffs, or do you overreact to it like it's a mini version of, or like you didn't get to see the rest of the series, and you just go, you know what, that was tough, but we had let's chalk it up to a tough loss. It is what it is. But, we had the rest of the regular season to prove that was, because maybe if you did have that type of thing, like, I hate to use this as an example because I'm not using this as a prideful example. It's just easy for me to recall because we're a Spurs fan. But like, if it's another easy example to use because again, you wouldn't necessarily see Presti making a move. But like, if OKC were to lose to the Spurs again in 5. That type of situation where the regular season you had a bad matchup against them and then in the playoffs you had a bad matchup, maybe, you don't overhaul the team. But then, of course, you can look matchup specific wise. Like, how do we, look to get past this certain matchup in a little bit of a different way. But again, maybe Charlotte is are they looking at Orlando now as like the team? Like, how do we match up against Orlando in 2027? I don't know if you build your whole roster that way, but again, I don't think you should overreact. And I know we said we were going to put LaMelo in the trade machine in the fourth quarter, and hey, we're just such a LaMelo. It's just our degenerate trade machinedom. I don't know if I'm even using that correctly there, but we just love the trade machine so much that we can't help it. We're putting everybody in the trade machine. Pause. I guess we haven't actually. I guess we check the tapes. We did trade Wembanyama earlier in the year. It was crazy. I don't even remember what it was for, but I just remember we put Wembanyama in a trade. It was just for the fun of it, just to show our unbiased as well too. For our journalistic integrity. We've traded everybody in the league. So don't take it personal. It's just the hypothetical situation of it. We're not trying to move families, but hey, if you end up in a better city, I guess it is what it is. But I do still like the construction of those guys together. And again, it is us ultimately at the end of the day still. I mean, you have to. It is not you have to, but if you're believing in this team, you have to believe in LaMelo. And we still, I'm speaking for Sam on this one as well too. I would say we still believe in LaMelo. And I guess, again, if you're going to be making trades, what are you going to be trading? I guess you do have swap rights with a first-round pick this year, a protected pick via Miami next year, as well as your own first, and then a top 2 protected via Dallas as well. So you could almost get into the trades with some of those, and then start throwing contracts around as well if it was like expiring situation. Again, if you're gonna start going for, I guess as they get eliminated here, do we throw Giannis in the trade machine? I guess that is interesting, Chad. Oh, no. Sorry, LaMelo. I hate to send you to Milwaukee. Oh, Chad, do we have to get Sam on the line right now? Hey, yo. I think Sam might say yes. I think the only reason Sam wouldn't say yes is because he likes LaMelo more than Giannis, and Canepo is a good teammate for LaMelo. And I think that's the point is to make it like if you're LaMelo, that connector 2 guard is something in theory that you would want him to be playing with. Canepo is somebody that is that, obviously, and a versatile. Again, Brandon Miller maybe a bit more on the deadlift might be nice, but either way, like a versatile guard that has the potential to be, of course, the great defender perimeter guy that he does is another great teammate that, just the sort of layout of a player. I don't know if that's the right way to phrase it, the outline of a player. But those are great, in theory, players that you want to have next to LaMelo. And they've been able to get those teammates. Again, you've been able to see it formulate offensive success. Unfortunately, Canepo's a bit of a sieve defensively. It is what it is, and so is LaMelo. So you got me there. You got me there. Unfortunately, they won't be able to get stops. I guess, will they offense? So, you know what? I've talked myself back into it. It is, but like I was saying, I think the only reason that he denies it is because of that setup. And unfortunately, I guess we do, Ryan Rollins. I guess Ryan Rollins, Canepo light, maybe. Hey, I guess, we tread lightly. Shout out to everybody. But, is Ryan Rollins a similar teammate situation playstyle wise to Canepo in terms of what, the upside of the player is there? I don't know. Like, there's still a decent young backcourt core there between those two guys. But anyways, LaMelo for Giannis is interesting. That is legit interesting because, again, like there was a conversation, and maybe, we need to go the other way with the LaMelo trade stuff as well too. And I think what this second half of the year needs to be focused on for the trades, if again, to the LaMelo Ball family, to the Charlotte Hornets fans out there, this is a hypothetical conversation, viewing it from this lens of, what would the conversation be around these hypothetical moves? And I think, LaMelo at the end of the day, 24, I think with the way he played this year is maybe the point we're going to get to. I think he would still have, trade value next year as well too. Maybe run it back one more year and see what you got. But either way, what I was going to say is there was a point in the year where there was conversation as to, a sort of Zion, LaMelo, Ja Morant. Like, what do these teams do with these guys on these big contracts that sort of, are keeping these teams in a little bit of a financially weird spot and can be productive, but maybe aren't quite proven winners at this point. And again, maybe not the best piece of, LaMelo. I guess, LaMelo maybe being the best player on Charlotte tonight, but as a team, nobody's obviously going to be, thrilled about the way that this one turned out. That's for sure. But, either way, the second half of the year, he definitely proved that he is more of a winning player for sure. And that there is, I would think realistic draw, like realistic trade, if there was to be, trade value. Okay, I think going December, if you go December here, let's check. Let's see what his maybe season, half splits would have been here. Because I don't know if they would have made that trade in December, per se, if it was a Giannis for LaMelo trade. And maybe the Giannis stuff has, like, again, I'm we're as pro Giannis here as anybody. Like, I'll defend Giannis's game even when it doesn't make sense to defend Giannis's game because of who he's been as a player. And then at that point, I'll be just like, well, but you just don't understand how good he was. It's like, well, yeah, but it's like, well, I don't care. He was amazing, and I loved watching him, and I'm going to defend him forever. It is what it is. So, when he's washed and then he wants to go to San Antonio, we'll have him as San Antonio fans. At least I will. And LaMelo as well, too, being hurt and not consistently able to play as much over the first part of the year, I'm sure was, not helpful in him not getting any type of rhythm. I guess, yeah, let's just go December 31st, October 22nd. Again, he's not going to have the same amount of games played, but 23 games played, 20 points a game, 40% from the field, 30-some% from three. Here, let's go back. Wait a second. What was the record? 36% from three, and then 8-15 was the record on there. And then, again, like even like Knuppel himself wasn't necessarily playing as, efficiently in maybe the last month of the season, or maybe April, the last couple of games there for sure. But LaMelo, same exact percentages. Hey, yo, that's hilarious, chat. LaMelo Ball does not change. Just the record got better. It is what it is. 6.6 assists per game over that stretch, 20 points a game. But still positive on the plus minus, the box score. Do we have to go back and look at a strength of schedule as well too? Hey, yo. But again, at least the team success has raised his sort of collective value as well. And he was even higher assisting in the first half of the year. But yeah, he was a 0 plus minus. So maybe he was trying better defensively, or again, just some of the, I guess, just because his assists went down doesn't mean that his passing and his involving of the team was, necessarily lower. At that case, it could have been actually the teamwork was higher, and that means that he's not going to get a couple more assists because he's not, if he's being that heliocentric guy, again, he's going to have to get those assists because he just has the basketball all the time. So I guess, wait, was he 6-point assists? I don't know how 8.3 and 6.6 equals 9.8. I guess, are we on 25, 26? 25, 26? Maybe I was looking at something else. Let me go back and double check our numbers here. 8.3. Was that 6.6 rebounds per game? That might have been. Though I do see quite a few single-digit assist numbers there. No, 6.6 assists. Okay, I'm going full season, chat. Or I guess, wait, what's his full season number should be up here. Okay, 7.1. Oh, it's probably just from an earlier part in the year. Does it have games played on here? I guess we don't have to investigate all that. I don't know. But either way, Giannis, you do get just the young type of franchise star in LaMelo, and the marketability of LaMelo as well too. Like that would be something that would be, again, I think you could maybe get a fan base behind that a little bit if you were trading Giannis away, where you're going to really be resetting the franchise. And again, LaMelo, you may want to maybe this would be the one downside of the trade. Maybe you do want to have like a one just really incredibly bad season. I guess that's this year, in some ways as well too. They weren't quite, the worst team in the league. Number 10, do they have protections on this pick? So maybe they needed to be there. Okay, it doesn't look like it. Atlanta gets the better of New Orleans, Milwaukee. Milwaukee gets the other, but it looks like it's crossed out there. So who knows? All these picks are messed up in some ways. But, 10 right now is still get a decent player. Still could be even a franchise hit. But the projection of that type of guy, obviously DeBaster or Peterson or something like that is a little bit different, tier. But either way, you're going to get another guy back as well, too, because LaMelo 37 and Giannis 37.9 on the contract. Giannis 54.1. So maybe it is LaMelo and Bridges for Giannis. Did we cook this trade up at the trade deadline? Maybe we did. This trade does seem familiar because I feel like maybe Ryan Rollins was in the trade. Was it Giannis and Rollins for LaMelo and Bridges? So this trade only become stronger in time? I don't know. Maybe we do have a little bit of cap space to work with here. Rollins might be too much for the Bucks to give up if they were giving up Giannis. You need your core guys still around. Hey yo. So let's keep Rollins still as a centerpiece guy. Him and Kevin Porter Jr. I mean, hey, yo, imagine just reinserting LaMelo into a same team. Pause. I mean, Kevin Porter Jr., Ryan Rollins, and LaMelo, and Ousmane Dieng. I mean, that's Charlotte 2.0 right there. Hey, yo, they may be able to get Charles Lee in the trade as well, too. I'm not sure. But is there a former Spurs Celtics staffer that they can get? I guess Will Hardy's got a pretty good job in Utah. I don't think he would leave for Milwaukee. Hey yo, because Doc Rivers, somebody's gonna need to. We're not gonna say replace. We'll say take the mantle. Respectfully. Hey yo, I don't know if that's a pause, but either way, this is interesting. If you're Milwaukee, you could see about. Hey, do you want to take like the Kuzma contract as well too? That could be like a Grant Williams situation, or I don't know, Trey Mann to try to even it out the other way as well too. And Bridges and LaMelo is a lot if you are Charlotte. Josh Green and LaMelo get a little bit lighter there. Pause. 51 and 54. Ooh, that's not bad, chat. Because again, LaMelo for I guess you do maybe throw in a pick or two. A 1 through 14 protected Miami pick. So that's going to be outside the lottery if they do get it. So I know that maybe you want a little bit more for Giannis. Do you just go the straight up Charlotte pick? I mean, is Giannis and Canepo, are they going to be, they're still going to be a 50-win team. And Brandon Miller, I mean, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Because Giannis is like that 5. You're like, oh, do they need a 5 defensively? Guess what? You get Giannis. So I'm pretty sure he's going to be able to make up for something. You get a playmaker there as well, too. I mean, 6.2 assists per game at whatever cutoff in the season that we were at here when he was at. Everybody's got good assists, him and LaMelo anyways at that point. I guess maybe you get a little bit of free up space with Kobe White, and you need to, I guess, work out something with Brandon Miller as well, too. Though, again, you could bring Kobe White back, bring both those guys back, like we were saying earlier, as one of your guard replacements there for LaMelo and Bridges. So your final lineup is Giannis, Bridges, Miller, Canepo, and Kobe White. It's not bad. They would probably, look at, maybe you would look at wanting, more minutes out of Saloon at some point. You would need McNeely to step up, I guess, and be like a kind of a rotation guy. Hopefully in your lineup, you could really count on him. Kalkbrenner, of course. Maybe you run Kalkbrenner and Giannis together. I don't know. Pause. And then, Sion becomes Diabate. We've seen him step up as well, too. Is that who you have? Do you have to get Diabate back if you're Milwaukee? That would be interesting. LaMelo as like a centerpiece taking the star title for Giannis. And then you get Diabate actually takes like the forward minutes from Giannis. So, again, a little bit different production there. But at least you get your roster at least you get guys, and then, you have some picks, you have a star player. You got like a package there to work with. Pause. Hey, yo! And then Ryan Rollins, and then, you're started back in the right direction. So, of course, like we said, we had to see what they could do for Giannis. But that does solve, your defensive issues as well, too. And if you're Giannis, staying in the East is not necessarily a bad idea. Again, the minute you leave Milwaukee, they're not going to be a title contender. I mean, with all due respect to them bringing LaMelo in, at least year one, you're not going to be, I would think, as competitive as the team with Giannis. You know, you're bringing him in there for more of a long-term play. I guess Atlanta hasn't been eliminated from the playoffs yet at this point because we won't put them in the trade machine for Giannis until then. But do they have to sign and trade Kuminga for Giannis? I don't know. You know, it's obviously going to be a can we get Giannis and Jalen Johnson on the team together type of situation if that were to happen. Though, I guess now this is Giannis trade machine. Giannis in Philly is not bad. LaMelo in Philly, chat. Hey, yo, LaMelo for Paul George. That becomes quite the, expensive role guy at that point. I'm sure Philly would actually do that as well, too. 3 years at 51 for Paul George. 4 years at 37 for LaMelo. Heck yeah, they would do that. Hey, yo, because you'd have to get two guys as well, too. Who's the, again, taking, I guess, Kobe White's contract off the books there, and then whatever other minimum deals, they may not necessarily be eager to re-sign. Again, shout out to Josh Green. Still could be a pretty productive player in the league, but hasn't quite found a consistent, has, but, is still like 9th, 8th man for this Hornets team, which is the other youthful corner pieces that they have there. So now we're back. Oh, chat, this is dead on. If there's any way that Charlotte would do this, I would not do this if I were Charlotte. You would have to get picks back from Philly, I think, almost. It would have to be, and maybe you could be generous with the protections as well, too, in 2027. I mean, I guess why would Philly want Maxey, Edgecombe, and LaMelo? I mean, because it would be, a crazy fun lineup, that's for sure. This would be the jersey investment of having LaMelo, Maxey, and Embiid all on the team at the same time. Just be like, okay, we're going to maximize jersey sales for Embiid's last couple of seasons and, really be entertaining here. But, again, Edgecombe could be a little bit of a 3 as well. So you could have LaMelo as the 1-2, LaMelo, Maxey kind of both combo guards a little bit. And then Edgecombe kind of a, combo 3 almost in that sense. It's fun. And then, if Embiid obviously had that crazy backline defense. Hey, yo, what are we saying there, chat? Pause. But if he was like old school Embiid, again, it is a little, do you say Wemby-ish in that sense, or Spurs-like? And the thing about the Spurs is, of course, Castle's point of attack defense, like we mentioned. But that could be Edgecombe in that lineup. Like LaMelo could be De'Aaron Fox, but kinda he could. I mean, what's I guess the De'Aaron Fox season with Sabonis was a little bit better than this year with Charlotte. They actually were in a playoff series, and did that series go to 7 against the Warriors against Steph, and then Steph cooked them in Game 7. But either way, going to 7 is still a little bit more competitive than this year, but maybe a little bit better with them and Sabonis being a little bit more veteran at that point as well too. Do you do LaMelo for Sabonis and Keegan Murray? I don't know why I just threw that one out there. But that would be, I don't know if that would be a you don't take DeBasta type of trade. And I guess I don't know what they're going to do with DeRozan. I guess, DeRozan moves into his, he's got to take DeBasta. That would be interesting, though. DeRozan and DeBasta on the same team. You almost got to draft DeBasta just because you have DeRozan. I think that DeRozan as a shooting guard, I'm sure would be able to, help De'Aaron Peterson. I think he'd be a little bit more willing. I don't think it would have the same sort of competitiveness as some quarterbacks where he's like, I'm not going to trade this guy who's clearly going to be replacing me in week 6. Like, why would I help him out? Can I play till week 8 if I don't help him out? Like, maybe I'll just save myself the 2 weeks of playing time and, just, not talk to him. But, or, earn myself 2 weeks playing time and just not talk to him. But, either way, I think that, you can obviously have 5 basketball players in the court these days, regardless of who they are, if you have the skill sets that align. So I'm sure Sacramento will have no problem playing DeRozan and DeBasta together next year if they draft DeBasta number 1. And you could have DeRozan help DeBasta with some of that post-up footwork type stuff. Could be pretty killer. So you would have, you got Hunter in recently. I guess he's not really much of I say not much, but didn't mean to phrase it that way. Not much of a, younger player anymore, moving into more of his prime-ish years in terms of where he's at, age-wise. Keegan Murray as well, too, on the poison pill contract means he's, going into his extension this next year. Pause. So you have Sabonis at 42 and LaMelo at 37. Just basically says, let's just get a little bit younger there at one of the contract spots. Oh, you could just do that straight up. And it says the Hornets are 4 wins better bringing in Sabonis. Like Sabonis and Knuppel, again, they're not getting stops at all. But are you even better than you were this year at 40 wins? Again, like LaMelo, Sabonis, do we say Sabonis is non-chaotic LaMelo? Like Sabonis and LaMelo maybe at the end of the day are going to be the same plus-minus result on the court. And, again, a lot of the same sort of can be great playmakers, very... Sabonis, entertaining passer, post-up type of guy. LaMelo, obviously creative, flashy type of player. But, again, maybe not the greatest two-way guys as well, too. But, either way, maybe just the sort of system, the system aesthetic of Sabonis. And, again, we tried lightly, but, how it would be like the pick-and-roll type of functioning between Knuppel and Sabonis. And, it would be a little bit more three-point oriented. Well, maybe not three-point oriented, but Knuppel is a little bit more, obviously, of a perimeter shooter than De'Aaron Fox is. And Fox is able to really get that mid-range jumper going really well for sure, and was able to work off of that pick-and-roll stuff because of his speed. And, again, his pull-up jumper is there. So he had that game to work off of the Sabonis pick-and-roll, absolutely. But Knuppel would be able to just execute that stuff at a high level differently. I'm not saying at a higher level right now, but at a high level differently, for sure. So that could be, and again, if you're Sacramento, like at least you just get a little fresher of a look there. And LaMelo and Dembasta's not bad at all. That's not bad at all. Again, are you gonna win a title in 4 years with LaMelo and Dembasta? Who's to say? But at least now you've got 2 under 25 guys that are like legitimately exciting. And again, when was the last time that, I guess with De'Aaron Fox, did he have De'Aaron Fox and Bagley? Like, who was the De'Aaron Fox teammate that he had that I guess you did trade for Sabonis? So, I guess it would have been Halliburton. We're forgetting about, did Halliburton play a full season? He did play a full season and a half in Sacramento. That's kind of a fun jersey, chat. The Halliburton Sacramento jersey. I was going to say you don't think about that, but I'm sure if you're a Kings fan, I'm sure you don't think about it. You blocked it out of your memory. Yeah, a season and a half. He played 100 games, 109 games played in Sacramento, 71 starts. We need to find that. We need to find that type of club. I guess it's it's different when you start your career in a place like that as well too, versus you get traded to a team just randomly like a season, because there can be something to when you start to move teams, like you don't stop moving teams. Even good players as well can all of a sudden find themselves, of course, on like teams 6, 7, 8 down the line. I mean, the guy that co-starred that we mentioned earlier with Denzel Washington, that one movie, who we won't say his name. That's tough. I guess we can say his character name because obviously shout out, but Jesus Shuttlesworth, but we just unfortunately because of certain NBA moments can't say his real life name. It is what it is. It's just it's trauma. It's personal. It's all that stuff. It's holding a grudge. It's just it's like it's after there's this one. This is gonna be a deep pull, but there's this one In the Heat of the Night TV show episode where this kid, which I don't remember if they're all murder mysteries. I don't think they are, but this one was like a murder mystery episode. And this kid witnesses, you hate to see it, but this kid like witnesses the events from the closet. We could be a little bit more specific there, but again, what we're talking about. But either way, he witnesses the murder from the closet, and he goes mute after that. I guess I don't, hopefully that's the appropriate way to phrase it. But he loses his ability to speak after that, and he's drawing pictures. So I guess a little horror story-ish as well too. When was this in line with like one of the exorcisms or something? I don't know, but he starts drawing pictures of the event, and then I want to say that is it Nathan Tibbs, the detective guy? I want to say that he figures some of the stuff out over the course of the looking at the pictures. of what happened. But, that's like us for the event of what happened in that finals, with the player whose name we won't say. Like, we'll just draw out pictures of the play. Actually, I don't even think we can do that. But, that's the only way if we had to do it. We would just draw out a picture. Or just, like pull up a highlight and look away. But then again, we'd have to Google it, so that would never happen as well, too. But regardless, there is something to when a player, starts his career just like randomly for like a season or so. Like, we were, I mentioned, I think like we had the last couple of times, watching Joe Johnson highlights recently, I guess, or all the time, but, which would lead us into recently, but, watching Joe Johnson highlights, like, you don't always think of him being like a Celtic early on, or Chauncey Billups as well, too, being a Celtic. I guess, the Celtics in the early 2000s, shout out, did Patino give up on both those guys? And, I guess he didn't play for too many teams, because, he did go to Brooklyn, then Utah for a season after that, and I guess Houston for 23 games, so he almost did. And then and then went to the, I guess, Big Three. Was the Big Three 18-19? Hey, yo, shout out Ice Cube. He's been obviously very successful there with that for quite a while. But, he was with Boston for 48 games, so not even a full year, his rookie year. 48 games, and then, was like a legitimate part of a Phoenix run there for, I guess, four seasons, and then obviously, a mainstay of Hawks basketball for the 21st century. But Billups as well too, I think he might have played like and maybe it's just Patino or just the Celtics of that era were just great at flipping players too early. So, yep, and then what, 80 games? Or no, 50, I would say 80 games. You couldn't trade a guy 80 games. 51 games played for Boston. And then traded him to Toronto for 26 games. I guess you don't really think about him playing for Toronto either. And then Denver, Minnesota. I guess he did just bounce around a little bit more, obviously, than, before getting to Detroit and finding his ultimate destination there. But, again, Halliburton does fall in that lane where you don't think about him getting traded too early, but it is what it is. And I guess who is the guy right now that got traded a season too early? And I guess, chat, us not watching Prime a lot this year for the NBA makes me realize right now that I've not seen any of the Prime programming. Is this a Jack Ryan situation? This is Krasinski? This is his thing, right? I don't know what else he's doing on Prime that would be, because this looks like big budget work. I guess he would probably have earned it. But this looks like it could be some action stuff as well, too. So that does say, I guess movie event, though. I thought that was a TV series. Oh, Krasinski action movie? Is he writing and directing this as well, too? I guess we don't necessarily hear what's going on, but I don't know. I think I see the Burj Khalifa there for a second. We may have to do a cast list on this. This is not looking bad. I guess it is going to be a Prime original, so it'll get lost in the shuffle for us. It is what it is. If only it was a theatrical release, chat. If only it had that. It's got some Bond vibes for sure. Some English. I guess I see the English flag there. So is Krasinski the new Bond? Did they just announce it via a trailer drop? Is that what happened? Okay, here we go. John Krasinski. We've got the first nameplate going up, unless it is just a Jack Ryan movie. I haven't seen the TV shows. Or no operation, no desperation. What did it just say? I can't read this font. Stays dark forever. Whoa! I don't know if we can advertise it that way, but I guess they're just talking about his mentality, his mindset. So, but yeah, again, like the prestige, modern day sleek action with set in Britain. Yep, is Jack Ryan, Tom Clancy. So I guess we're gonna have to go watch the old movies. It is what do we got? Harrison Ford and Alec Baldwin. Again, we're just saying, we're throwing old out there in reference to just the older. We're not trying to make anybody feel bad about their age. It is what it is. We understand that it's not that old. The 90s wasn't that long ago. It's not getting it's not getting closer. So it is what it is. But either way, we tread lightly. We're respectful to everybody that thinks the 90s were right around the corner at this point. But either way, shout out to the Kings for trading Halliburton earlier. Maybe they could make up for it by bringing LaMelo in, because I do kind of like this as well too. again, a little less exciting, a little less, upside than the Giannis trade. But what trade does have more upside than the Giannis trade? I mean, that's the number one. If you could turn LaMelo into Giannis, like, respectfully to LaMelo, it is what it is. You might be making that move. You might be making that move every time. So, again, Sabonis, you might have to make a little bit of a argument for it. Maybe you do trade Knuppel as well, too, like we're saying, if you're really that concerned about the defensive side of things long term. But if your go-to move after losing a play-in game is to trade your, number 4 overall pick after he had almost a second Rookie of the Year season because he was a sieve on defense, that might be a little bit too much. And, if you don't want to trade Brandon Miller as well, too, because of contract stuff, or if you don't want to, if you're trading him there, that just, again, seems a little bit too soon. I think with some of these guys, just with the team building, the max deal, obviously anybody has to live up to their max deal. But I think you got to take the gamble with re-signing your younger players to their higher end worth, and then hoping that they can, of course, continue to get better, be the best versions of themselves. But yeah, I think ultimately it is a run it back with the core and see what LaMelo and see what Knuppel, see what Brandon Miller, and I guess you still have Bridges under contract as well too. Like, I would be definitely willing to maintain that major part of the roster through the offseason and at least get to the trade deadline next year before we see if anything is out there that is just, kind of a no-brainer as well. But those guys have to, I think, make a return. Again, Kalkbrenner, Diabate, McNeely. You start bringing so much of the team back, and it's like, okay, like, where are we going to be different? But, with Josh Green and Grant Williams, like we're saying, that is something. That is something in terms of the contracts. You got $20 million in money there. It's not, crazy, commitments for either of these guys. I guess they're both going to be expiring because I'm reading this as 2 years for the 25-26 season. But once they're in the offseason, for the 26-27 season, both of those will be expiring deals. So you'll at least have some flexibility there. Because even, even a guy like Trey Mann and McNeely, I guess, shout out. But at 2.7, he's just maybe not moving the needle too much on some trades. But even at $8 million for Trey Mann as well, too, like, you have something. Like, what if, going back to Philly, I just, we thought of something crazy. Again, we had Paul George for LaMelo. Not that you would do Embiid for LaMelo, would you? But could you bring in Embiid for your role guys and just be like, hey, like, let's just bring in a star and see what the upside of that is? It becomes quite the salary commitment. Like, would you give up Bridges for Embiid? Is this too much? Do you have to give up any picks? I don't know if you have to give up any picks to give Embiid's 31. Hey, yo, I hate to phrase it that way. But Grant Williams, Miles Bridges, and Josh Green. So it's basically just consolidating, chat. Would Charlotte want to consolidate all of their role guys' contracts into Embiid, and would Philly want to diversify? Again, I feel like Philly would want to diversify just to move more into the Maxey and Edgecombe era as well, and to continue to build supporting casts around them. But I don't know if, again, they're way better bringing in these guys. But, Grant Williams is he could have 60 good games next year for Philly and a handful of good playoff games, and all of a sudden it's a good move. And Bridges, the athleticism of Bridges and Maxey and Edgecombe, like, there is a speed, 3-and-D versatility thing that does kind of work out there a little bit in theory. Should we mention the new play-in game going at this point? But is it trending in the same direction? Hey, yo, we have Phoenix versus Golden State. Golden State just turns it over, and it's about to be double the score again. Oh, there we go. Oh, Chad, is that Royce O'Neal? Is that? Yeah, it is. Yes, sir, for 31-15. Oh, man. So twice in the same night. You hate to see it, but back-to-back dominating performance. So the league does suck, chat. Basketball is no good. It is what it is. No, that's unfortunate. And again, I was literally about to say as well, too, when we logged on first, I was like, I don't know if we're, or, maybe thinking earlier today as well, too, where it's just like, both of the the closeness, classicness of the last two play-in games. I don't know, the best play-in game day of all time. So now we have the worst play-in game day of all time. It makes sense that, you know, the competitiveness balance would be there in the grand picture. But is that Gillespie cooking from the mid-range? I mean, shout out. But hey, yo, Pods heaving up a half-court shot right off the top of the backboard. Hopefully that's what he was aiming for. I don't know why he wouldn't have been aiming for the hoop, but he, you know, hit the backboard square on. It is what it is. So maybe an Embiid trade for Charlotte. I don't know if that's the move as well too. Jared Allen would not be bad. You know, they've been trying to trade him out of Phoenix or out of Cleveland for a while, and having that type of defensive center there look would be interesting. 20 million. Do you go Josh Green? You know, honestly, Josh Green and Trey Mann for Jared Allen's not bad. That's like a very reasonable, realistic trade that we just cooked up there, chat. And Cleveland as well too. We didn't even remember the second April rules, and still we only put one player in the trade. Oh, it failed. Oh, 1.6 million. Oh, okay. So I guess they can't literally take any more money back, but maybe a little less. So I guess Grant Williams also at 13.6. Oh, chat. It is what it is. McNeely's gone. McNeely for Jared Allen. It is what it is. And I guess they can't trade two. So now, you know, this becomes the difficulty. You can't bring in the second miniature contract as well. Could you sign and trade, you know, Saloon or something? That would be interesting. Kobe White? Sign and trade Kobe White for and Trey Mann for Jared Allen, 2 guards to play with Mitchell and James Harden. Hey, yo. I don't know if that is the move. Maybe that one just doesn't work out. I did slip up and say Phoenix earlier, but they do also have a couple of centers. So wait a second. Let's double check here what they have going on. Mark Williams expiring. Maluach, you know, they just drafted him. So do you sign and trade Mark Williams? Are you going to sign and trade Mark Williams for 13? Bring in Grant Williams, Josh Green back? I don't know. I guess if it was if it wasn't that 20 million range, it could be for that Trey Mann Grant Williams combo, like we're saying, and then you have Maluach as the full-time center. Can Grant Williams and Dylan Brooks be on the same team? Hey, yo. But the versatility there does become interesting. Like, I don't know if you have a true 4 at all on that roster, but Devin Booker, Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, Grant Williams, Grayson Allen, can those 5 play together? Can Grant Williams and Dylan Brooks be like small ball 5 situation? And then you have Maluach, you have Ryan Dunn as well too, we forgot about. And then, like we're saying, you know, you got to bring Colin Gillespie back for the guard depth option as well too. And we didn't even mention Grayson Allen. Grayson Allen might be a trade piece. Hey, yo. They're cooking in the play-in game without him right now. At least they were in the last play-in game. We have to double check here. We haven't been as locked into the fourth quarter, or the first quarter here, if you couldn't tell. It is what it is. So I guess we have to keep the Suns out of the trade machine because they are not eliminated yet at this point. And, well, just because they're playing right now as well, too. But, yeah, 121-90. The final score. Bridges 1 for 6. Miller 4 for 7. So Miller ended up with kind of a decent stat line. 5 turnovers, if you consider that a decent stat line. But 2 steals, 1 assist. 1 assist for Brandon Miller. Well, I guess nobody was making shots, so it is what it is. And then LaMelo 3 for 8, 7 for 17 in the nip slip. 3 for 10 was the final box score there. Orlando, Paolo 25, 7 for 19, 2 for 6, 5 for 8 from the free throw line. Franz 5 for 10, 8 for 10 from the free throw line. Wendell Carter 6 for 7, 2 for 4 from the free throw line. 2 for 2 from the 3-point line. Desmond Bane 0 for 3. Hey, yo. Somehow not making a 3. The Magic offense is cooking. And the Suggs as well, too. 13 points. 5 for 8. Efficient play in this one. Anthony Black 2 for 10. Oh, Chad, he's put some shots up. Hey, yo, trying 0 for 4 from 3. We had how many Jett Howard minutes? 5 Jett Howard minutes. Okay, thank goodness. 1 for 2 from 3 himself. One of their 8 threes. So really adding to the percentage as well. Before that, it was 7 for 26. Much worse. Much worse. Don't hit me with the math that it's better. I can do the math on the calculator in a second. It is what it is. I can double check. But, Ayo, yeah, we got Charlotte. Gonna at least be, you know, panic walking around for a while. You're gonna need to vent. You're gonna need to rant about it. You know, you're gonna need to act like you're gonna trade everybody. You know, Ayo. But you're not actually, of course, I think, in the offseason going to make, unless it's a drastic upgrade, you know, you're not going to be making that major move. Steph, is this the year you bring Steph back? LaMelo for Steph? I think we were mentioning that one earlier in the offseason as well, too. Hey, yo, are the Warriors going to make up for their mistakes for not drafting LaMelo? How do you make up for that? By trading him for Steph Curry. Hey, yo. Okay, and on that note, chat, we go to break. We go to break here real quick as the Suns, hey, yo, they just continue to make the Amazon Prime night a bit of a boring one, chat. We on away. Pause. We'll be right back. All right, chat, we are back. The Warriors still down 12, so, you know, kind of close enough to do something, but the Suns still in control. And, you know, Curry, like we're saying, close enough to strike at any moment. But the Suns themselves were outdueled by, you know, the only other player. Do we say the best player in the play-in? Arguably, at this point. Hey, yo, Denny Advia. I mean, it could arguably be one of the greatest play-in games of all time. I don't, you know, again, the stats don't exist. So there's really no way to go back and check them out. What if we just search play-in on Basketball Reference? Will we get a result of any kind, though? Typically, it is reserved for players. Rajon Rondo? Okay, I don't know if Rondo ever played in a play-in game, but here we go. NBA play-in stats. Is there any way we can find what happened here? Okay. Regular season, proballers.com. Somebody's keeping track. That's good to know. Oh, okay. Fancy. Shout out. What do we got here? Current stuff. Okay. Definitely for this year. We do see that, you know, Advia was cooking with the points this year. 41 in that matchup that we just talked about with Phoenix. Basketballreference.com main page. Yep, there's just no history. So unfortunately, you know, Advia's best game. Is this the best game of his career? It might be. I don't know how many other 40-point games he's scored. But I guess unfortunately for him, it will be wiped away from NBA history after the play-in stats go away after this weekend. But hey, the impact and the importance of it will still be there, as they will, you know, be in the playoffs as a result of it. But up until this point, he has, okay, it does have it listed here. How do we find this? So if it's their career high, we can find it versus, oh no, he did it versus Houston. Hey, yo, Houston, I think I remember this now. January 7th, so hopefully we do. You know, a couple months ago, but January 7th, they won by 1 point, 102-103. I just mean, like, I remember that game. I remember like, oh wow, Avia, you know, going crazy. Houston in a close one there. Yeah, Durant 37. I remember rewatching this the next morning. Hey yo, Reed Shepherd 3 for 10 from the field. But yeah, Advia 23 for 41. So 2 40-point games this year. And actually, I saw that he had a 43 as well too in Washington. It looked like, as a part of his tenure there, if I'm not mistaken. Let me get this pulled back up correctly. Yeah, 43 in 23-24, and then 37 last year. 43 against Portland in a loss, and they were 9-45. Oh man, 9-45 is crazy. What was their record at the 51 game mark this year? I mean, let's, you know, don't take the improvement for granted. But either way, Denny Advia was cooking this night at 43, 15, and 10. So a triple-double, a Tyus Jones double-double, and a Marvin Bagley double-double as well too. So the Pelicans, and somehow in this loss, were, or the Wizards? The Warriors? Whoa. The Wizards in this loss were all over the place. Zion with 36, McCollum 26, and then Brandon Ingram with 18 himself there. Najee Marshall, a sneaky little 6 for 8 off of the bench. But I guess Advia has had those, at least some crazy scoring performances before. I would say, you know, he's definitely had to have had, you know, 37, 38, 39, but I just wasn't exactly quite certain how many points he had, you know, how many times he had 40 points total. So yeah, one time this year, but 13 30-point games total. And, you know, I'm still pretty confident in the Spurs' ability to win the series against Portland. You know, it is, we still do, I would say, have the 2 best players in the series with, well, I guess, you know, and again, maybe 2 of the 3 with Wemby and Castle. Maybe game to game, Advia is going crazy, and he's the second best, maybe even the best player in the game. Who's to say? But I do think that we do have the talent advantage, but it is close. It is close, and, you know, Klingon is an interesting matchup for Wemby. I think that is an interesting long-term matchup as well too. It's just like who's a guy in the league that could be around that's like elite defender that could be an interesting, not even just a weird matchup, but just who's anybody in the league that could be a matchup for Wembanyama sort of one-on-one. I think Klingon could be that, and Klingon's really what would we say, mobile on the perimeter. At least he was in college, keeping up with some of those guards. I think he could, if Wemby continues to develop some of those off the dribble moves, like I think if Klingon has to switch out and guard him there, that's not going to be a big disadvantage for him throughout the course of his career. And of course, the strength to maybe keep Wemby working, of course, pause in the post. But yeah, Advia versus Castle is a fun matchup as well too. But again, we have to wait for the All-NBA votes, of course, to drop here. But he was an all-star and is kind of making his, again, not making his case because we've already had the votes, but just as a player in the league, kind of making his case as that top 15 All-NBA level player. Because, I mean, again, that was a really impactful performance, and the Suns are a real team. I mean, we're talking about a 7-8 playoff. It's like a playoff game. A 7-8, and I know you could argue about the way that they have it set up and, the 7-8 playing early, but I think giving them the 2 chances is fair there as well, too, to redeem themselves off the loss. And, you just have to, as a fan, come to grips with the fact that the playoffs is just more expanded now. It is what it is. And there's more opportunity for, equal opportunity for more teams. It is what it is there. But either way, I don't even remember who we're looking for at this point as well too, but Advia. Hey, let's see here. PER. Where do we have our guy ranked at here? Maybe not his stat in specific. Knuppel over Advia. Do you do LaMelo for Advia? Is that the trade? We got Moses Moody, Jabari Smith. Hey, we must have missed it, chat. We must have missed it. Does he know? Oh, there he is, 24th. Okay, 24th in the BER. Right behind Devin Booker. Pause. Jalen Johnson, James Harden, LeBron Klingon. Oh, speaking of Klingon, we just mentioned him. There he is. Okay, 4.3 on the box plus minus. That moves him up to, 13th. 13th most impactful scoring lineup guy in the league. So you've got Jokic, Shea, and Wemby, 1, 2, 3. Doncic, Kawhi, Cade, Tyrese Maxey, Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Duren, LaMelo Ball at number 10, Kevin Durant, Anthony Edwards, and then Denny Advia. And I'm sure, if we make room for Giannis in here as well, too, that he would make an appearance right behind Wemby at number 4. Pause. And then Ty Jerome, number 8. Tristan Newton, number 6 in 12 minutes played. And then Jimmy Butler, number 12 as well, too. Cade Cunningham at 9. Alex Antetokounmpo, number 14. Whoa, both Antetokounmpos are in the top 15. Is pretty crazy. Yeah, where was Steph Curry even at on that list as well, too? So, it does, again, Cade's 6 to 10. Again, not everybody were even qualifying here on the list when we pause. So 26 more, again, in that all-star conversation than the All-NBA conversation. But with, Portland at least being a play-in seeded team, and maybe there is something to the play-in now as well, too, of this uncertainty of whether or not you're going to be in the play-in or the playoff for making the All-NBA. Maybe you do want the familiarity of the top 6 seeds. But still, for them to earn a top 7 regular, I mean, it's different. If we're separating the playoffs and the regular season, then the play-in is different from that as well, too. And I think they have to send in their votes earlier anyways. But, if we're separating the legacies of it as well, too. Again, Avia is just really impressive as a player that he's even in these categories where I don't know if he would necessarily, still be in conversation as like, is he going to be the lead guy on a title team at this point? But still, clearly, we've always known him to be a guy that is probably capable of being, obviously, everybody's capable of being an impact guy on a winning team. But, it just seems like Avia is pretty versatile with his situations and could really find himself on a lot of rosters and really help a lot of different teams win. But for him to actually be a guy that is carrying offense himself and, having these legitimate scoring performances against some of these other guys is just like crazy thing that I did not see happening with his career. And where was he drafted by Washington as well, too? Number 9 overall. And yeah, still, I guess, doesn't have as crazy of a three-point shot. So some opportunity, worked in there as well, too. I say, yeah, he's really great at getting to the free throw line. 9 free throw games is crazy for him this year. So that alone is 4 extra shots that he's having. And, making 3.5 extra points a game just from the free throw line. So at 17 points a game, that alone is going to make you a 20-point-a-game scorer. And he's not even really, he's kind of down his three-point shooting efficiency as well, too, from the last couple of years. If Advia goes up, like this year, 23-24, he's 50-37 and 74% from the free throw line, 3.6 attempts. So if he adds that free throw rate to that efficiency, then that becomes, pretty crazy as well, too. 26 a game per 36 this year. In 23-24, that 50-37 year that we're talking about, 17 a game, but again, 4.4 attempts, 3.2 free throw makes. So if you added 5 more free throw attempts to that, then, sitting at about 22 points a game, I guess, is not bad. So, again, 36 minutes a game, I guess now, he gets a couple more shots as well, too, which I guess you do want to see there. So, yeah, 33 minutes a game so far for him this year. But, again, like a legitimate maybe top 25. I guess, if we're saying All-NBA, that's definitely top 15 for sure. But somewhere between the 15th and the 25th best player in the league this year has been, again, pretty crazy for what was kind of a undefined role-esque player in Washington. And Portland's just like, well, okay, then I guess he's just the main guy, if that's the case, and he'll just run anything. And, making up for the no scoot situation as well, too. I'm not saying no scoot, but, hey, yo, pause. Whoa. Hey, yo, what are we talking about? But I'm just saying that they don't necessarily have him as a franchise building block in the same way that maybe we thought he would be. But, again, obviously, Advia can really be that guy. So that was a crazy, 41-point performance. But then Steph with his late game heroics as well, too, in the last game versus the Clippers. The Clippers going home. I guess we said we're going to put every team in the trade machine for Giannis. Hey, yo, the Clippers are the one team we're not putting Giannis in the trade machine for. That would be depressing. And, they do have Kawhi as well, too. So I don't know if we can help out a Kawhi Leonard basketball team like that. If Kawhi Leonard wins, then, may the best man win. It is what it is. He's done it before, and I'm sure, maybe I'm not sure he'll do it again. But, if he did it again, it's just history repeating itself. So, again, we tip our cap. But if we can help it, we're not gonna help his team out in that way. So, Warriors down 3 with 3.5 minutes left in the second quarter. Or did I say down 3? I was talking with 3.5 minutes left. With 33 points and 43 points, down 10 in the second quarter here. So, they do just need to be in the close vicinity so Steph can, so Steph can just carry them to victory. It is what it is. But, I think that would still be the confidence factor that I would have in the Warriors at this point would be Steph, again, even over, a hot take, over Devin Booker. 2 for 6 tonight, Devin Booker. Sneaky, kind of low shooting percentage year, Devin Booker for him there. So, again, Phoenix, like we said earlier, going into the play-in, them even just being in that 45-win regular season is almost a win in itself because we didn't even know if they were going to be a positive basketball team after trading for Durant. And the Warriors being at 37 wins and being in the play-in is crazy as well, too. We're talking about the East versus the West over here. The Warriors have 37 wins and they're in the play-in game. So, you know, the West is definitely working out in their favor a little bit. We got a review on a Dylan Brooks situation. Oh, what else would it be, chat? What else would it be? Oh, it looks like he pushed off Guy Santos. A little elbow to the chin. It looks intentional, chat. It looks did I say intentional? It actually does not. I actually meant the complete opposite, if that's what I said. But it looks unintentional. It does look like he's driving. He's trying to kind of knock the defender's arm loose with his own arm, more so than hit him in the face. You know, you can tell when Draymond's trying to hit a guy in the face and when he's, you know, trying to make a good defensive play and accidentally foul somebody. I think that Brooks was trying to make an aggressive defensive play and fouled him, but maybe fouled him just a tad bit worse than maybe he thought here. But what do we got here, Coach? Oh, it just says Coach's challenge, son. Okay. The coach's son challenged it? No, the coach's, the son's coach challenged the play. So, you know, again, the winner of this game gets to play OKC as well too. I don't think there's a better matchup either way. If you're both teams, you just kind of think that you have to get get torching from three in a couple of these games and get the style flipped back in your own way. But Dylan Brooks heads to the bench here. Okay, we've got Pods, of course, continuing to run a lot of the offense. Guy Santos kind of having a struggle getting past some of the defenders here. So setting up Steph. I mean, we want to just see vintage Steph at this point. I know this maybe is just the case not for him to trade him, as he is just so much fun playing on the Warriors. And I don't know if it is us just liking, is it he just, knows that those jerseys is just a good proof of concept for him in those jerseys or something. And they're not playing in Golden State tonight, but boom, the three there cuts it to 7. They're not playing in Golden State tonight, but that vibe that they bring into the arena is definitely unmatched. Like, I do feel like, obviously that is a must-see type of situation. But Guy Santos now under the basket, 5-point game. Here we go. Is this a little 9-0 run for Golden State? Oh no, chat. I guess oh no, or oh yeah, hey yo, if that's the way to do it. But definitely a lot through Pods as of right now, both offense and defensively. Steph Curry, classic, just going, looking like he's going to dribble in a little couple of steps back out for the 3-point shot in transition. Nobody there for a rebound, and he's still swishing it. So with the way that the Suns kind of dropped the last game as well too, again dropped, but got outdueled, I should say, in the last game. I do fear / hope, again, just depending on which angle you look at it. Does seem like, as like we're saying, as long as Steph is close, that they should be in okay shape, and then I would probably take them as the team to get the win if that was the debate there. But Pods, Draymond, we mentioned Guy Santos earlier. They do so Draymond and Al Horford on the court at the same time. Draymond just totally in the corner, out of the action. It's Pods, it's Steph, it's Horford running the plays. It is what it is. Draymond's been relegated to defense and some playmaking responsibilities every now and then. But it is funny that they just did not basically have any, how many minutes did Al Horford play this year at all? Like, there's been this whole outrage for all these players that haven't played, and it's like, they're ruining the game. I bought the jersey and I didn't get to see him. We made the family trip 12 hours by Greyhound bus, and then we had to, stuff everything in Ziploc bags and, wrap it around our thighs to get there. Like, it just, it seems like it makes sense that, we want to see the players play for sure. And we want to balance the players' ability to, it's not like time off, enjoy life, but, the health and the expectation of them being able to battle through certain injuries. But Al Horford this year, 45 games played, 13 starts. You don't hear anybody complaining about Al Horford load management. Ayo, pause. Again, the man has not, and he's older as well too, late 30s, but has not played 75 games since 2015. Ayo. Boston, his entire 30s. He hasn't played 70 games his entire 30s. And to be honest, how many times has he played 80 games? 82 games once, 81 games twice, 77, 76, 74, 72. So he's played 19 years in the NBA. In 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of those years, he was 70 games or more. I guess most of them he did at least get to eligibility, which is why the 60 game mark is important in some way, or important, but why it was, at least initially set out there. But at least important to think about why that was set out there. It seems like it is just a generic good initial threshold to start with. And if you need to tinker it around and move the rules, hey, that's how the stuff works. But I'm just saying, go ahead and hey, let's make it better. But 69, 68, 67, 67, 65 as well. At least gets you in all NBA consideration these days, though he wasn't quite making it. But again, it's not like at 30 in Boston he's washed. He's still like a pretty good impact guy, even if he is, in a different phase of his career at that point, not scoring as many points. But you don't hear anybody being like, I brought my with my last paycheck, the Al Horford jersey I've been saving up for, and now all of a sudden I wore my Al Horford jersey to the game, and I, sold. I only ate scrambled, just like did the, it's just like whatever the checklist of things that you have to do. And all of a sudden you're at the game and it's like, oh no, Al Horford's not playing. Just like for some reason his name's not brought up. And he's a star. The man's a star. Al Horford's a Hall of Famer. Like, who are the Hall of Famers that it's just like, oh no, why have I never said that? Oh no, Al Horford's not playing. But it just is what it is. Shout out. People are like, I understand. Al Horford needs to take a break till the playoffs. But LeBron's 41 and it's like, your man has to play every game. But again, it's just, I guess, the expectations for the guys at this point. But I just wanted to shout out Horford because again, just because nobody is out there directly saying those things, like, I just love watching, these guys ball. But we'll just, offer him a word of support there to keep things going. So we've got the Warriors jacking up shots. Pause as the first half winds down. Phoenix will get a little look here as they slow it down, go to the half court. Is this Booker in his final moments here? Ayo, of the first half, cooking that pull up. Oh, Chad, it's crazy. It is crazy because he's not like he never pulls up out of a crossover or anything. He just like straight up hesitates and then just pulls up. He does do that little lean forward a little bit, so there is a little weight shift and kind of moving the defender around that way. Did Iguodala foul Steph at the end there? Steph, of course, gotta limp it off. The two things that him and LeBron have in common, they're from Akron and they both fake injuries. Chat, we got him. It is what it is. But he will be at the free throw line here anyways. 2 for 7 from the game. So again, not his necessarily brightest performance of all. But he'll still have the locked in third, fourth quarter to be able to provide the context you need for the rest of these installations here. But we've got them with already 6 points in this game, and they're comparing him because they did just play, I guess from the Clippers stat line. I was gonna say, did they play the Suns recently? But no, just from the Clippers game the other night. Already similarly matching production in the first half of this one, and Jalen Green as well too was going pretty crazy in that. What are we saying? That last game, and he's going crazy now as well too. So speaking of play-in winners, chat. Jalen Green is now all of a sudden a play-in winner at this point. Oh, so there we go. They sail the halftime shot over the backboard, and it is a 5-point game. So, this one is going to be another battle as well, too. Do we see what the line is? Because I imagine that, I guess, I don't know if they have, would they have Golden State minus a half a point at this point? Is it just Phoenix? Phoenix minus 2.5. And I guess it did open at Phoenix minus 3.5. They are the home team. We have seen that matter here a little bit in these play-in games, seeing as how Charlotte did advance out of theirs, being the home team, and then, kind of got cooked on the road against Orlando here. And now Phoenix, of course, with the matchup in Golden State. But Golden State, 37 wins. I guess, you're on the road the whole time. So they could be the opposite there of what, Orlando accomplished. But either way, I guess we don't know exactly which team to say goodbye to at this point. So next time we're back on, we'll have a decent idea. I'm assuming at this point, assuming the overtimes don't go crazy, have a decent idea of what the playoffs look like. We'll be watching along those games. So don't forget about the Sunday live show. We will be here on the YouTube. Of course, you can follow along with us watching playoff games. Hey, we've got a playoff slate for Sunday, so it'll be fun. We'll be reacting to the action pause that has already happened. We'll be following along to some games. It'll be a great time. You can join us here on the YouTube to follow along with us there. But, hey, like we're saying, shout out Jalen Green, who, again, you feel like you have to sometimes make the move. You're just like, okay, well, we have to make that move. Like, we don't know what that's going to become at some point, but we do know that, maybe the best we could do for, I'm not saying the best we could do, the best we could do, we've agreed, is this trade for this player regarding, Kevin Durant, and we think that the best we can get back is a package regarding Jalen Green. And again, you may not even know what that means when you make the trade at that time. That might be turn that into more picks down the line type of better situation. Like, we might not be able to get what we want. So maybe he's getting to that this place via these two play-in games where all of a sudden it's like, well, is Jalen Green, showing a little bit more of that upside again? That pause that we were, kind of projecting for him there early on. So wait, what was his final stat line then for this last... His season 17 a game, 42%. The last game he played against Portland, he was 35 points in that game. 48% from the field, 28% from three. So still, of course, a work in progress with the outside jumper there. But basically, one of his better scoring days. He has really looked apparently like, a little bit more of a cohesive part of what they're trying to do there. And maybe there is some version of a Booker versus Jalen Green thing that is something. Again, it is something. Like, you would have both those guys. You'd have Malawatch there. You would at least have the pieces at the different areas on the court to be able to mess around and, experiment in the different ways that you want to try the lineups and see what is going on there. But, with the halftime show approaching here, we will not be able to, stay on for too much longer at this point. We are going to be wrapping up the live stream. And Pods as well, too. 11 jumpers. I don't know if Pods can take 11 jumpers in the first half, 5 for 11. Is that going to be a take 4 jump shot situations at the end of the at the end of this one? I don't know. But we will of course be keeping an eye on this to see what happens. But playoffs Sunday. Let's see if we can get a little bit of a look here and see what is going on for the schedule. I don't think we have any games tomorrow. Oh, do we? Oh, the playoffs. Hey, chat. Oh, look how exciting tomorrow just got. This is great. I thought we had to wait till Sunday. I mean, what a surprise. Hey, IT, did you see this? We have basketball tomorrow. Hey, yo. Raptors Cavs at noon? Oh, chat. Oh, and then we move into the prime games. I was going to say this is going to make the shift at the restaurant go so much easier. I mean, it will. That'll get us a nice chunk of a restaurant shift there. I guess they're all on prime. Oh, chat. This is tough. See, they didn't think about like these other streaming services for things like the restaurants. I guess you could say, or should you have a Netflix thing that you can log into? Sure. But there's like setups of like having multiple cable boxes and things to be able to throw at the end of the day, if you want to throw ESPN on 6 TVs lined up right next to each other at a bar, like you can do that. You can diversify a little bit. You can have ESPN again being in the Big Ten area. You can have ESPN, Big Ten Network. Maybe there's an MLB game somewhere. Maybe one of them's randomly just thrown on some type of entertainment channel left on a TNT TBS or maybe just daytime television or something like that. But having to try to broadcast all of these sports events that are like, oh, this random one's on Netflix, and now all of a sudden the NBA games are on Prime Video. It's like, what are we doing? How are we supposed to play Timberwolves Nuggets in the restaurant with no Prime Video? I'm supposed to like hack into my grandma's Prime at a restaurant in town and watch Timberwolves Nuggets for the fans? Like, what are we doing here? Like, can't Prime Video just maybe they need I mean, and I'm sure you could probably send them an email or something, but there needs to be like a corporate thing for some of these streaming services. And I'm sure you could literally locate the TV as well too. So it's like it only works with multiple devices together at this location. And it's like, hey, if you need to move locations, you could do the work to be able to get that undone. But in the meantime, I think that could safeguard a lot of, people trying to like, oh, now I'm going to take it home and be mooching off the business. Like, you still got to, kick in and do your part and step up and buy. But, either way, you can't necessarily just bury all of these sporting events on these random streaming services and constantly, having to try, what are we doing here? Like, yeah, we can't be pulling that up and just playing these random sports channels here. But I guess, we can. But also, there are select other ones. There are ones that have been selected. But either way, that's, I guess, a different thing for a different day. But, yeah, at least late at night, we will get to the Durant versus LeBron rematch game. NBC, chat, I was like, NBC. ABC, of course, on the call. It is what it is. I was like, man, they moved into that new era quick. Headline playoff games on NBC. So maybe that will be Sunday for the live stream. Let's see. That Rockets-Lakers would be a good one there. Yeah, basketball back on NBC. Speaking of, it's the Magic, chat. Hey, yo. We're so lucky that we get to watch the Detroit Magic again on Sunday live here on the pod, playing the Pistons. Maybe that game will be so bad that we have to play, Dennis Jenkins and now we're dragging names through, but we got Suns versus Warriors Thunder. Obviously, winner of this second half will have the honor of playing the Thunder, and then Philly advanced to play Boston, so we do get the historic rival matchup situation in round one here. But for tomorrow anyways, that is crazy that we're going 3 for 4 on Prime. There's no commerce multi-subscription deal that they can cook up, that you can just literally cook that up. Like, I just need to not sit here, while you think of the legal jargon for it, but everything else, just cook it up. Hey, yo. It's literally right there. It's not that difficult. But, we would have, either way, the series here that would be the pretty competitive, crazy matchup that we're hoping to, all be, of course, entertained by here. But did we pay homage to Oscar Schmidt enough? I just realized that as I was getting ready to take off here. I was like, wait a second, what about Oscar Schmidt? Do we have to mention, chat? This page doesn't even do reference to his accolades as well too, because like we were mentioning earlier, the greatest non-NBA player of all time. So rest in peace. I think that's kind of like a fact. That's kind of just a fact at this point. It might say that along is a professional basketball primarily paid power forward, small forward, and the versatility in today as well too. 6'9", 240, stretch forward, 3-and-D wing, but played for Italy, Huavro, Caserita, Pavia, Spain for Forum, Valladolid, and then born on the Rio de Grande in Brazil. Shout out. And I think they say the all-time leading scorer in basketball as well too. There's nobody has put up as many points in. Yeah, here we go. He was considered to be the leading scorer in the history of basketball due to club play plus other Brazilian national team play until LeBron passed this record April 2nd, 2024. He is the record holder for the longest career span of professional basketball player at 29 years. He is also the top scorer in the history of the Summer Olympic Games and the top scorer of FIBA World Cup, both as well too. So it just shows that he consistently dominated everywhere he went, and added Melo and some of the stuff along the way, but was named one of FIBA's 50 greatest players in 1991. Received the Olympic crown in 1997. In 1910, he became the FIBA FBI frame. Chat, FIBA FBI. What are we saying here? FIBA Hall of Fame player, chat. We gotta go, chat. Is it bedtime? I think it might be bedtime. Once we say FIBA FBI, it's time to take off. But Smith became, rest in peace, chat. Smith became FIBA Hall of Fame player in recognition of his play in international competitions. On September 8th, 2013, was inducted into the May Smith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame and the Italian Basketball Hall of Fame as well too. I guess just to get a little bit more of a snapshot of his career. Didn't he have a Cook USA moment? Hey, yo. What's his Cook Team USA moment? Returned to his native Brazil in 95 after 13 years in Europe, and once again to play Brazilian basketball championships. His debut came September 12th, 95, Sao Paulo Championships, scoring 47 against the FC Corinthian Paulista. Is this a gang, chat? Hey, yo. He was cooking gang teams out there. Sports Club Corinthians. Oh, no. He was a member of SC Corinthians Paulista from 95 to 97. He then signed for Grêmio Mackenzie under coach Marcel de Souza, former teammate in the national team. Is that Wemby's coach now, maybe? No, this is a Brazilian coach. I don't know why we're thinking it's the French national coach. I guess I don't recall his name at all, really, but he played there from 97 to 99, and he constantly finished his club career with CR Flamengo, where he played from 99 to 2003. So bounced around a little bit, the journeyman, but I think he did that a little bit more in some of his international leagues. Do they have the loyalty in the European clubs the same way that they do? I think they just trade and guys move around and they don't care. It is what it is. But in the top scorer in 1997 with 41.9 points during a game. In the Sao Paulo Championship, he averaged 32.2 points a game. During the 1997 National Championship, would surpass the mark for 40,000 career points, scoring a total of 41 points in a game against the... Oh, chat. Hey, what do we got here? In a game against the... Oh, man. I just lost the spot that I was on. Second scorer in the 1996 Sao Paulo Championships. Okay, I think that's where we were at there. In 1999, he debuted for Flamengo in a comfortable way over Municipal and got standing ovations by fans. December 1st, 1999, with a free throw, he reached the historic mark of 40,000 career points. November 30th, he reached 45K. During the Flamengo Botafogo game at the Rio de Janeiro Championship. As a member of Flamengo, he won the Rio de Janeiro Championship, being the top tier scorer with 600 it's just about how much he balled out. Because he scored 44 points and used the Flamengo Eurasia sense to match for the RJ State Championship. Smith was Brazilian top scorer in each of his last 8 seasons, where he played, in addition to him that had played previously in the same competition in scoring in 79 and 80. Schmidt retired from his basketball club in June 26, 2003 at the age of 45, opting not to play in the upcoming Rio de Janeiro State Championship just right before the championship retired. Hey, yo, at least ride the bench for one more year and one more game. And then, was drafted by the New Jersey Nets in the 6th round of the 84 draft. Played there with them in their 84 NBA training camp and preseason. However, he declined the team's offer of a full guarantee, because it was considered less money than he was making in Italy, and he wanted to contribute for playing for the senior Brazilian national teams. So again, we're in a bit of a different spot now where the money is pretty undeniable for the most part. I think that would not be the issue, and the scheduling, I think, could be worked out as well. But either way, one of the legends, absolute legends of international and just regular play, Oscar Schmidt, like they say, the greatest non-basketball player to ever play in the Hall of Fame. So, hopefully, again, thoughts and prayers with the family and everybody involved there. And, shout out to a great life, a great basketball career, a great legacy of the man, Oscar Schmidt. But I think that'll do it for us, chat. Like I said, we will be back here Sunday night hanging out on the live feed. We cannot wait to see you then. We've got second half firing up for Suns versus the Warriors. Go enjoy that. Go enjoy your weekend. And you can follow us on the podcast feeds as well. You can send us a little message on REMINGTOM Instagram page, REMINGTOM Pod, and give us a little connection that way as well. Pause, because we do like hearing the direct response messages from you guys there. So, if you have any questions or comments or concerns, that's the drop box. You can, put them in there, pause, load it up. I don't know how you want to phrase it. Either way, you can, it's the place to check in the morning. It is what it is. So, again, Pod's really committed to the Steph playing off the basketball type of situation. The screen to free him. Oh, chat, now it's like the 4th and 5th screen. Rescreen back for Pods after a couple more, except Post a little undecisive with the pass. And now Pods just flipping up a floater at the basket. Okay, we've seen enough. It is what it is. We will see you all later. Like I said, enjoy the weekend. We've got playoffs tomorrow, so stay locked in. Get that free Prime account, and hopefully it resets for the time that they have playoff games next as well too. Well, catch you for the Sunday live stream. Peace.